This is going to be a thing where it's like where we have to like mute the YouTube of it all. I would hope it would just take care of it, but
mute the YouTube.
So we're not like it's going to be a thing where
I can absolutely hear you.
Where we have to like mute the YouTube of it all. I would hope it would just take care of it, but
mute the YouTube.
So we're not like it's going to be a thing where
I can absolutely. Am I hearing 3 layers of that? It's quieter now. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I shut mine down. How? So we're not like. It's gonna be a thing where. How can I mute?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I shut mine down.
Now I can still hear it.
Mm-hmm. How can I mute?
Okay. No. Now I can still hear it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you have a second laptop? Do you have a laptop, or you're using your laptop? That's right.
I do have a second laptop. Hey, how's that sound? Is that normal?
It sounds normal right now. It took a couple seconds for it to kick up.
Cool. All right, I just muted my screen, so now we'll just check to see if the YouTube is coming through okay. We're on a couple minutes earlier than I told people we would. So
did you say 9 o'clock?
Yeah, I pushed it to 9.
All right.
Let's see if I can catch it.
We're not that early then.
No.
I mean, sure, we want to wait for 4 minutes, but I can talk to you for 4 minutes.
A couple minutes earlier. Okay, no, I think it's working. I think it's working. So we'll start actually talking about stuff after after
this one's for the early birds. They get to listen to us talk about our worms.
Hey, Leslie DJ hopped on, so it was with us. It's in a loop. I blame the robots. Perfect. So I think we're fine now.
It's in a loop.
It was in a loop with the audio we had going on before. So this is what a calm and just to a limited audience. YouTube Live is cute and fun. People are going to see how much longer this show really is, John.
I was actually thinking as this show was going on, Kevin, that this is probably not going to be that long of an episode.
Really?
I didn't think we'll see, but I was getting to a point where it's like, wow, we only have 15 minutes left in this episode. They did jam a lot in that last 10 minutes or so, but
well, I guess I can let's see.
I didn't do fucking shit.
You hear that?
I didn't rig shit. I didn't rig shit.
Yes. Cool. There we oh, well, Leslie said she's missing her New York Liberty for this. No pressure. Well, the Liberty are certainly I don't want to say they're a stronger team than us. It's a different thing. It's the WNBA specifically, but the Liberty's really good. They are really good. It's good. John, you've been following the the sicko libs.
That's what the fans call them, the sicko libs.
It is weird. The owner of the New York Liberty, he owned the libs. He did it. He's he found a way to figure it out. But they are one of the two best teams in the WNBA.
Wow.
Number 1, possibly. Nice.
How many teams are in the WNBA right now, Kevin?
That's a question that everyone knows, so why even answer it, I guess. 16, maybe, I would say, something like that. I'm a Chicago Sky guy, but I also, I'm into you, of course, huge Indiana Fever supporter.
Wow, is every team, no team has a plural noun as their name, huh? Liberty, Sky, Fever?
I think it's the Indiana Fever. The Seattle Storm. Yeah, that is true. Like in the WNBA, a ton of them are. I want to say Dallas maybe has a plural one, but yeah, that's a weird thing. We start every episode talking about. Hi, Michelle, talking about the WNBA, but Yeah, John, anything going on in your life that you don't mind saying on the YouTube live, but before we get into actually recording?
Anything going on? Beep boop 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 boop. I'm looking around. No. I just want to let everyone know who is tuning in now that Kevin's wearing a very nice button up that he normally doesn't wear when we record. Normally he's wearing a plain white shirt, undershirt with a pack of cigs rolled up in the sleeve.
Yeah, I try to look like John Travolta from Grease is sort of my vision board, my human vision board that I'm usually going for. I know last time it's been a long time since we did like a YouTube live stream, and the last time we did, one thing I will try to keep checking in with the chat, although I have so much shit on my screen. It's hard.
It's so hot in here.
I'm so fucking hot. I'm so hot. But I remember there were some randos who I don't know how you would randomly find a YouTube stream, but there were like people who didn't listen to the podcast who were hopping in. Wow. And Leslie DJ just very recently hit us with a review. She rated and reviewed us.
Thank you.
That's so nice.
That's great. Thank you so much.
But is it enough? She said 16 teams. I got it. 16 WNBA teams. Nailed it. Is it enough? I don't know. Have you seen Barbie yet, John?
I like how you say "yet" as if I'm destined to watch it at some point.
To see Barbie, you don't think you will?
I don't know. I might.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a lot of people are talking about it. I know. I've seen Knuff. I'm Knuff. I've seen that.
Your job is beach. Do you know that your job is beach meme?
No.
Okay. Well, then I'll let that be a magical thing you may or may not discover at some point.
I will probably watch it.
Okay.
Am I gonna watch Oppenheimer first? Could be.
Because you're a boy. All right. That's
I love the Brady Bunch movie, and I feel like the Barbie movie's in the same vein as that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Just, an old thing everybody knows. An old thing everybody knows.
But they're also transplanted into the real world. And they're like, why is everyone acting so weird? Why aren't they acting like the way we live in our bubble? Sort of thing.
Yeah. True. John, I twink we're ready to go.
The Giuseppe story. I twink.
I twink, therefore I can. Top or bottom, I'm Verse. Hey everybody, welcome to Sex and the Cidiots. My name is Kevin McCaffrey, and look, flipping around and going straight again.
Whoa, it's John, the American Law Institute Reject Daily.
Oh man, I thought I had written you just a good enough a good enough letter of support to get you in on that shit. I thought we could have AP credited you all the way through law school, but didn't work out.
Into the American Law Institute, the one American Law Institute that everyone knows and loves, and they don't need to explain it any further.
I when that happened in the show, I asked aloud, is this a job? Like, is this like, did you get a new job? Or is this like a Hall of Fame situation? I don't quite understand logistically what's happening. But John, may I wish you a fucking happy, sorry for swearing, a fucking happy finale day to you.
Yes, this was the big one, folks. This was the last. Well, not the last, though, is it, though? Really, it's the last for now, and they need to get them writers writing and the actors acting. But it's the last for now, man. 11 episodes up, 11 down. We did it. Yeah,
it's The Last Supper Part 2. Entree, which could multiple meanings, John. I know you picked up on that based on the spoiler, your expertise of the French language, and B, based on the spoilers.
Anthony's ass cheeks.
Anthony's ass entree, dead ass, s'il vous plaît. But John, on this very special finale day, I have a question.
Excuse me, could I have a glass of alcohol when you get a chance?
I'm really asking.
You know what I should have done, and now I know. Now it's all clicking together. What happened in your casa? But over here, I'm having good old Good old whiskey and Coke, friend.
Mm-hmm.
What are you drinking? Because I think it's going to be something special.
Isn't this cute? Isn't this cute? Live chatters out there. We got Michelle and Leslie DJ in the chat. Aurora Delucia dropping a sorry to say Oppenheimer is better than Barbie with an upside down smiley face. Wow. Michelle said she was just taking the piss during brunch when she teased you about your pronoun thing, and she's been worried about it. Do not worry about it. We have teased each other, and boy, oh boy, have I
just got to mark a name off my list really quick.
Yeah, you're doing sort of a the Billy Madison, Steve Buscemi deal with your lipstick. What I am drinking, I don't think you went full clean sweep on Whiskey Coke for this season. I think you did. You probably did some natty once or twice. Your natter days, I assume.
No, they're out of they discontinued. I may have used surplus beer from a party at one point.
Okay,
and there was Jack Daniels involved. I guess that's another kind of whiskey. And then American Honey straight up is also in play. But
that's true. We did that for the emergency pod 2 days ago, where both of us got drunker than we meant to. And let's do that again. What I'm drinking, I'm not even quite sure, but I was lamenting the fact that I did not have a Cosmo. And it kind of looks like a Cosmo. Mm-hmm. It is tequila. There's triple sec involved, and and lime. So that's what we're dealing with here. And then I just have a full bottle of Hornitos over here for refills. It's not going to be as fancy from this point forward. It's just going to be loading tequila on limes and getting after
it. Back to basics, folks.
Yep. John, people can join us, and many people have. If people are here on the chat, it's probably because they are Patreon supporters already, because that's the only place we announce this. So you can join us at patreon.com/Kevin and John. Tell them what they have over there, John, what they can access.
What they have over there, what the lucky few, the chosen few have access to is we got, over 90 episodes / movies of us talking our nuts off about this and that.
D-nuttin', yep.
And we also do a brunch / happy hour hangout like once a month. The months we can remember and get our shit together.
Pretty much all of them.
Pretty much all of them. We were very good about it. Those are a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun, perhaps too much fun sometimes at these things. Yeah, and there's the Discord channel, which we both get on an equal amount.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, John's on the Discord, always answering questions. You guys know that. But you can join it. This is the end of the regular season for this show and for this podcast. Hopefully we'll do some episodes with guests, some old Sex and the City episodes and stuff like that. But this is, we're going to be going even heavier on Patreon in the coming weeks now that this season is over. And as we said, it's The Last Supper Part 2, Entree. And it is directed by your boy MP King, written by still your boy MP King, and this aired originally on August 24th, 2023. And on finale day, John, I found myself getting fired up about the fact that I want these shows, these gold-earned shows, sorry for swearing, to start dropping in the nighttime again, because it feels weird to watch it in the morning. I hate waking up in the morning and seeing fucking still frames of Samantha already posted. Come on.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because it does not feel like a communal thing. And I was like, but for the first time in a long time, I was like, well, I should not go on Instagram because I saw a picture of something. I forget what it was, but my eyes immediately went askew.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's dismaying, especially for the finale. Come on.
Yeah, man.
The meat and potatoes episodes, the middle ones, sure, do what you need to do with those. That's fine. Right. But everyone wants to watch it at the same time than talk about it, or live tweet it or whatever. Yeah,
and at least we're live talking about it right now. And I think, John, I think we're ready to bust into it for real now, right?
We're gonna bust in on it. We're gonna bust in on this like it's a kitty living alone in an abandoned apartment.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be. I mean, I'm glad Carrie's happy with the kitty, but it seems like it could use a little more attention. But yes.
Yeah, so Carrie goes back to her own apartment. Her own apartment. This is confusing. She has so many apartments. Her old apartment. Where this supper is going to take place. Should we do like a brief catch up from the entree? Also, the fact that they're calling this appetizer an entree and there's not a third installment of the dessert is missed opportunity, I think. Although, man, I don't know how much more they could thin out this gruel a little bit. It seems like they're stretching it already.
I'll say off the top, I like this episode.
It was fine. Yeah, it does. It just, it seems like they had 10 more minutes of episode after the last one, and then they kind of fluffed it a little bit. They fluffed it.
I feel, yeah.
And that's fine. We like fluff sometimes, folks.
Yeah.
Speaking of fluff, so she walks in. Thank you. She walks into her old apartment. The cat's there. She starts talking to the cat. We love that.
We do. It's a really good cat.
It's a little kitten. It's very old by now, but that's fine. It is like, does the cat live in Carrie's old apartment when Carrie's living in Gramercy Park? Like, what is happening there? She didn't take the cat with her.
Yeah,
but whatever. These questions, it's like Lost, man. There's going to be some things you just don't know.
The cat, the cat's whereabouts on a day-to-day basis is the polar bear from Lost, basically.
Carrie's come back to her place, ostensibly set up this party by herself, I guess, which is wild to me because like nothing in the previous 20 episodes of this particular run of the show would make me think that she had the wherewithal or means or motivation to do this by herself.
Yeah.
But whatever.
This might fall under the category of just watch the show and don't fucking worry about it, Kevin. But and this is sort of, I guess this strikes me more later, but as she's setting up for it, has the apartment always been this big?
Yeah, it's a 16-person table. Like,
I don't feel, maybe I'm dumb. I know there was like when Aiden was living with Carrie, there was obviously the beds over here, and then there's kind of like a separate room. Because I remember when she was being like, you can't talk to me when I come in the room, and then she went straight to the bed, and Aiden stayed out there reading. There is another room, but this feels like more apartment than we've ever seen before. I guess that is a question for the chat. I don't know if they feel like that is, if I'm just being weird about that, but yeah.
I guess they did at some point literally double the size of the apartment, right? Because they just they bought the apartment next door and knocked down the wall, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But, yeah, I guess that's true. But yeah, there's a big area for dinner in here.
Yeah, it seems like you wouldn't. Most New York apartments can't host a dinner for 16. I think a sit-down dinner. Anyway, Carrie gets a phone call, and folks, if you were wondering about that, Samantha, if you're wondering, hey, are they going to do something cool with Samantha sometime in the episode? Like, just get that fucking quashed immediately, because here she is. She's on the phone. Her flight. She missed her flight was late. She got fogged in at jolly old London at Heathrow. And I was going to surprise you because Carrie didn't even think to invite her very good friend who she talks to on a regular basis, according to MP King.
Again, that I do think people mostly support us on that it's fucking bonkers that they're just like, no, they talk all the time. They've always been talking. Like, in that world, in what world would you never show us that then? We all know logistically why this isn't happening, but it is so bonkers. And the fact, I don't know story-wise what it gets you for this to not be a big deal.
It's weird that, I mean, he only said that on his podcast, right? On what people are saying is our competitors podcast, the MP King podcast.
Yeah.
But like this show it makes it seem like they do not talk on the phone. This episode of this particular show did that. But also, did you notice the musical cue? They were doing the sort of jazzy. There was like a jazzy riff going on, which is great. And it's like, oh yeah, the show used to like be fun and light and cool, which we still love it though, don't we, folks?
We do, and we're happy it's continuing into season 3, which I have to assume happens 5 years in the future. We'll get to it, and begins with a very full-grown cat, and it'll be called the Last Supper dessert. Will be the season premiere.
Moose boosh.
Moose boosh. Me, the chat agrees, by the way. The apartment was not that big.
Thank you, chat.
Yeah.
So anyway, Samantha is fogged in from Heathrow. Her flight got delayed several hours. And Carrie's like, oh, don't worry about it. Just hit me up tomorrow. No big. And Sam's like, no good. See, I was going to fly in to New York from London, and then I'm gonna eat 2 olives at your dinner and lick a spoon, and then I'm gonna immediately get on a plane and fly back to Heathrow. So unfortunately, you won't be able to see me in person at all.
It is now, John. Did you think? I first off want to say I popped that it was a little bit spoiled for me because I saw an image, but I didn't expect us to get like Samantha kind of filmed live. I thought she was going to be like on a FaceTime.
Oh, okay. I guess,
is this what you expected that way?
Yeah, I guess I thought that was a possibility. But this is I wouldn't have thought that was like a big difference to me, whether it's like her on a screen or her not on a screen to me.
Right. Yeah. But she's
in a limo and she can't, she's still in jolly old London. So, but do put me on the speakerphone because I do want to say, give my respects to this apartment. And folks, it's the 7th character on the show. We love it. We love this apartment.
The 4 ladies. Okay, the characters are the 4 ladies. New York City is the 5th character. Jazzman is the 6th.
Jazzman,
old good orgasm boyfriend is 6. Lizette 7, and the apartment's 8. Boom, that's everybody. Go. Yep. But yeah, she's. I did write, and I wrote down before they referenced it. I was like, she does sound a little more British now somehow, and we do know she's our Liverpool Cleopatra. She's from there originally. She loves leaning into that, and it makes sense. Your accent starts to mirror what's around you, but she sounded a little more British, and then she called it a flat.
Yeah.
And
she said she was going to have some porridge later and fish and chips.
Yeah, exactly. She kept saying "in it," and we're like, "Stop! Please stop saying in it." Yeah, she called Carrie "bruv," and I was like, "What are you even? No,
what are you on about?
Are you having a laugh? Are you taking the piss?" And then John, when Carrie references it. I love this. But when Carrie says, "Do you sound British?" She goes, "No, I'm Samantha. I'm Annabelle Bronstein from India," which, as you know the reference, right?
Absolutely. That's from the movie Gandhi.
It is from the biopic of Indira Gandhi. No, this is from when she said she was from India when she picked up the fake ID and they got to hang out at the Soho House pool.
Yes.
As I say that, does anything register in your brain as I say that?
I remember there being a pool.
Okay, good. I love the callback. Boom. Just made me think how much everyone would have blown up if they kept it a fucking surprise. Like that would have been great.
Would have been great.
Yeah.
And here's what I was thinking when I saw this, because we do only see Samantha Jones here in a limousine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, maybe she's doing a little razzmatazz on Carrie here. Hey, I'm not able to make it, and then we find out that the limousines actually is in New York City.
Yes.
But here, spoiler alert, folks. It is not, and this is it. This is all you get. I hope you're satisfied with this much, Samantha Jones.
Yeah, we thought there was a chance with the seat open that it was going to be like that. But nope, that was it. At least I guess from a storytelling perspective, at least they got the thing we knew that was going to happen that everyone wanted to see out of the way early. So it's like, we've had our fun. Now, time to buckle in for the rest of the episode. But yeah.
Yeah. And then it basically just goes over to the Harry and Charlotte line, right? And gotta tread lightly here because I think we got into the thick of it before, but Harry's playing major domo to Charlotte here a bit because she's hungover. This is like immediately after they are giving us the payoff to her drunken night.
Yes, and John, I want to say I've come around more to your side in this day a little bit. I have a little bit. You can agree with John a little bit. Where she not just the fact. Okay, so she's drunk. She's in her clothes, waking up, and Anthony's coming over. I guess I'll get. You keep talking, and then I'll get to the specific.
Oh, okay. So yeah, Harry
really...
comes in and deigns to wake up Her Majesty here, who's who's had one. And folks, I will confirm this: man, the fucking hangover is worse than because the kids are most of the time. If you go out for a wild night, the kids are asleep. It's not a big deal. But then they wake up. They don't know you're hungover. They don't care that you're hungover, so they want a piece of your ass.
Yeah, how is hungover parenting, John?
You
don't do it every day.
I don't do it.
You mainly do it like after you hang out with me, so I apologize.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough, and hopefully you have a spouse or a SO that will help you in that regard, and that gets you, and that you reverse the roles and you help them sometimes. So it's that's how. Folks, that's why they call it a relationship, I guess.
Also, welcome Lisa Langford to the chat. We got 4 chatters in there. Aurora validating me that it was a big deal to see Samantha on the screen. Okay. Yeah, we're and then there was one message redacted. That's all I'm gonna say. The chat's getting spicy is all I want to say. Trey's spicy. But yes, continue.
So Harry's here, and he's here. The only reason he dares to wake her up is because Anthony has showed up to their house unbidden, more or less. He says he texted, but she's not responding to the text.
If you don't get a text back and the hangout isn't set up, go home. Do not proceed.
I wonder if there's a level of. I think you're right most of the time, Kevin.
Sure.
I do think Anthony is at a point. We've seen them having the Sabbath dinner together or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So maybe he's like a closer family friend.
You're saying Jewish God says he can go.
Jewish God, he's a mensch. We love Jewish God.
He is.
But and then so Anthony's here to talk about his ass virginity, which to me, I thought the deal was done then already. I will come to find out the deal's not been done. He still retains his ass virginity.
Yes, which I did enjoy. At first, I was like, why would you tell Harry that? But why would you tell Harry that? Because it's funny in a TV show. Yeah. For Harry to say, Harry to be like, he wants to talk about losing his ass virginity. And I felt like, because when on our last Patreon Zoom hang, I believe when we went around the table and we're like, which character are you? I think you went with Harry for yourself.
I did.
Yeah, and I am picturing your wife having a friend that would be the Anthony in this situation, and you having to greet them as Kristen is maybe asleep. And being like,
maybe she's getting ready. Maybe she's upstairs taking a shower, and people are showing up on time, and I'm talking to them.
Yeah, and I could see you very much being the Harry in this specific scenario.
Yeah, he's like, I don't even know what ass virginity is. Okay, Harry, I think you can figure that one out. Though.
You're a problem solver. We find out later that you're pretty good at Scrabble, so I feel like you actually do have the deductive reasoning to figure this out, and it's not a big leap. It's 2 words. They have their own definitions that you definitely know. So then
he has a little freak out because he's like, I can't do it all or whatever, and then he really gets the fucking riot act. He gets chastised here pretty properly because or improperly, I would say, but Charlotte's like, you're actually doing the bare minimum, which is like, over the last 24 hours, Charlotte, you didn't do anything, I guess.
This, John, I have to. This is where I swung over to your side right now, because she makes a point in this talk that I think is, in a general sense, valid, where she's like, what you have been doing is sort of bare minimum stuff while I've been carrying the household. Now, Harry has been working, and she wasn't until 4 minutes ago. So there is, there has been a sort of understandable shifting of household responsibilities, I think. But so I do agree with what Charlotte is saying in a broad sense here, when she's like, you're doing the thing that women are just expected to by society and everything, just, without thanks and whatever. I think that's generally true. Charlotte, you can't talk this much shit today. You can like today's not the day for you to be like because Harry says, you know, but cutting out the blackout drunk thing, and she's like, yeah, of course. Yeah, but we're skipping over your fuck up real fast. Like, you're getting back. You drunkenly fell off your high horse and then like sort of walked a crooked line until you could get back on it. So I do agree with Charlotte broadly, but the dude she was throwing in this position, I would not have the balls, I suppose.
There you go. Yeah, it's like if Harry like was like, I'm not going to work then and I'll take care of domestic duties, like that would make sense that he, you know, he wouldn't have any room to talk or whatever. But it's like he's still, you guys are both firing on all cylinders now, so you know you need to give each other leeway or whatever. Yeah, that obviously is like a couple perfectly understands each other and respects each other is like not like highly motivating for a plot or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Although I mean there were disagreements, but my favorite show ever, Friday Night Lights. Sometimes you can just have a relationship that's good and make it interesting. It's difficult, but that also, John, Kay showing up to drop season 6, episode 10 is when Annabelle Bronstein did her Soho House business. Wow. So there you go.
Unbelievable. The research department here on
we have a tremendous research department, and we give them a lot of spaces.
You're on top of us like Steve on top of a migrant worker.
Speaking Spanish. If you thought Steve sounded silly speaking his native tongue, we're going, he's taking 3 Duolingos and he's ready to let it rip. So he's talking to the guy working at his bar who he assumes is Spanish. I guess he's never seen this guy or spoken to him before, but yeah.
Yeah, he's never spoken to him before. He doesn't have like a dozen workers here. It's like Steve and this guy, and they're screwing a screw in together or whatever. It's like it's nowhere near the first time you've seen him. But anyway, yeah, he's speaking Spanish. I don't speak Spanish at all, so it's if he's being played for like he's speaking it badly. I didn't guess that, but I don't doubt it. But regardless, there's the guy obviously speaks English then, and that's totally fine. And then here comes Miranda, and we get the big Steve Miranda scene here. Mm-hmm. And Steve's just like it's like I never got off that cyclone right over there. I mean, it's nice that he's in Coney Island because there's so many things he can point to and be like, that's like my life. Yeah, that's like my life.
I'm the freak you shot. When they do the shoot the freak, I'm the freak and you got the paintball gun, and they just let you go hog wild in here. Yeah, he's like, and then he references a prom king who fell out of the roller coaster and died, and that's when
I was just saying, it's like, are you doing suicidal thoughts here, Steve? It's like I was on the cyclone and like I'm surprised my head's not splattered all over the sidewalk. Like, what?
Anyway, so Miranda, what'd you come down here to say? I'm reading "Don't Kill Myself" books.
I don't want to be around anymore.
Shit.
I don't even want to be around.
I should have had that quicker. That we all agree. But yeah, they're talking. And this, John, I want to say I got a little emo in the course of this talk a little bit, where she says, Miranda's basically like, I don't just want to be a part of your past. Like she's sort of saying like, I don't want to find out about you from Carrie. I want to move to more of a, she doesn't say friend level, but basically she's saying these things, and Steve rightfully clarifies and says, you're not going to flip and go straight on me again. And Miranda said something that I would just like write if I was doing closed captioning, intelligible, like unintelligible. There was like, there was a little exchange here that I don't quite understand the meaning of what she said, but she's like, yeah, no, that's not happening. But then she says that Steve was smart about a lot of things, moving to Brooklyn, being good parents, and the only thing you weren't right about was us. And when he said, I was right about us for a very long time, I was like, I'm feeling it now as I'm saying that. It's like, oh my God, like that is deep and rough and like sad and beautiful in a way. It's, there's a lot going on for me.
So like, this show very often is a garbage scow filled with radioactive waste or whatever. But this time, this is like very beautiful, very poignant. And everyone's acting very grown up, and it seems very realistic to me. And it was a very touching. This is a good send off, but it makes me wonder. Like, all right,
couldn't help but wonder.
I couldn't help but wonder, and just like that, there's going to be another season. So, are you going to make good on this? And you guys are just going to talk to each other? Are you guys going to have a friendship like Carrie and Samantha have a friendship, which is to say, not on screen whatsoever?
Yeah, completely off screen. But the writer producers of the show would like to tell you, we would like credit for this continues and it's good. Yeah. So you just don't see it. So is that the case? I do hope if she hangs out with Steve, he's just like a video game character where you can only find them in one place. Like you have to go to Coney Island to find Steve and go report to Steve and check in and level up.
And he always asks, "Are you straight again? Hey, are you straight again?
Are you straight again?" I
shouldn't do it anyway. I shouldn't do it. I just have to ask.
Yeah, I have fucked 3 times today. You may have seen evidence of it, but I'm still locked in on you. So
the bearded lady, I got that.
I hit that. Not a real beard. Don't think I'm crazy.
We also get Brady showing up on his bike yet again without delivering a line. Well, it seems like it belonged in this episode, and it was in the previous episode as well. Like, did you guys just accidentally have that in the last episode? Like, you forgot that it was supposed to be in this one?
His contract says he needs to ride a bike every episode and be seen and not heard. So they did that successfully. And then we go to a Naya scene.
Yeah, Naya's in her office, and we see a Broadway legend walk in, whose name I don't remember, but he was in the Mulaney Lunch Bunch special, which I loved. I love that.
He's also, I think he was in Hades Town as well, and he was Charlotte's like dance teacher in Sex and the City at some point. Oh,
and like then he changed to law.
Yeah, maybe he was just doing a little dance on the side, you know. But this is a guy who, even without knowing his credits, I mean, he started talking for 1 minute, and I'm like, oh, Broadway guy for sure. Like he just has kind of a stateliness and a confidence about him where I'm like, oh, this guy can get it on Broadway, right? That's what's happening.
Can get it on Broadway. Oh, it's like, it's someone with a lot of talent just showed up.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't it weird how that is like we still aren't saying his name because we're such, our research. But we're like, oh, this guy's fucking good. He didn't even say anything yet. How'd he do that? But yeah, I felt the same way.
He fucking ripped
Andre DeShields is the name.
There you go.
Lisa Langford from the top rope. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah.
Well, anyway, this guy, whatever his name is, and no one's figured it out, is Naya's boss, I guess, at Columbia University. So maybe he's the dean, or maybe he's the professor, the law dude, the chief law guy, the big law. Anyway, he's here.
I'm Big Law. You gotta have a cowboy hat and a shotgun if you say that.
Big Law. He's here because someone in this room just got elected to the Law Hall of Fame, the fucking American Legal Institute, American Law Institute.
Yeah, American Law Institute, which I'm going to assume is a real thing. But again, John, I don't know. Is this like a Hall of Fame for lawyers, or is this a new job? Is it like
I
making
assume it's
the
like
honor
the Kennedy
roll?
honors, like a Kennedy honors, maybe, or like, I don't know what the function of it would be. I mean, you have like courts, and you have like the Supreme Court, and so I don't know where the American Law Institute would fall there.
Yeah,
it seems like if you're a law professor at Columbia, like unless you're like a hotshot lawyer, like you've already kind of reached the pinnacle of what you can do.
You're doing pretty good, yeah. I would agree with that. As I speak now, John, I am squeezing one of the chopped limes that I brought, sliced limes I brought in here, into my drink to make another. But yeah, she finds out that she's made this big American Law Institute thing. It's a big deal to her, so happy for Naya. And
surely she didn't get in unanimously, though, right?
No, John.
Larry must have said something about that.
Larry gets a lot of play here. He does. Our talented fella, Andre DeShields does not. He doesn't usually like Larry, but he gets on board here, and then we find out after this, like, she goes back to her apartment, and she went. Her first thought was to sort of. She sees Miranda there, and she says, like, my first thought was to like immediately share this news with Andre Rashad.
Yeah, which is honestly, it's really getting to be too many Andres for me, for my liking. Sadly,
Andre, a real life Andre do a show Andre. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But she, she
she
says,
announces to Miranda that she won the American Law Institute thing. Even old Larry voted for me, and Miranda loves it. She's eating this up. But yeah, she doesn't. This like makes Nia seem pretty weak to me, unfortunately, because she's like, oh, I wish I had a man to share it with.
I found it super relatable. Go ahead though.
I don't know. It's just like, are you not enough for yourself anymore? I don't know.
Well, I think that's a fair question, because I think the answer in this moment is yes, right? Is like, she's not feeling enough for herself. And I think she's expressing the way she's talking to Miranda that she knows how this sounds, right? Like how she's like, I feel like kind of a simp about this. You feel like kind of a lame-o for being like, yeah, I've had all these achievements, and like but now I don't have a man to share it with, and I'm feeling bad about that. And I'm like, I think that's very understandable. I think it's also unfortunate to like feel that way, but I get it. And she's, I guess, being honest that like, well, that's her instinct. And also, she's been with this guy for 20 years, so it's hard to break the instinctual, like, something happens, this is the person I tell, like, thing. So she's just feeling that. And then Miranda does the thing where she lists all her accomplishments to her and says, this is the life you wanted. And
remember, you wanted to be an old spinster by yourself, racking up awards at phony institutions.
Well, when you put it like that, yeah.
But yeah, so she's listening to all this stuff, and Nia's still bummed or whatever. It's like, I think I'm gonna bail on this dinner. I think I'm gonna send her my regrets or whatever. And then I got 2 words for you: Michelin chef or Michelin star.
Baby? Take me out to dinner.
Please, that's what we're talking about. Michelin. Michelin chef. Everyone loves Michelin chefs, and that is enough to turn her around. And we do know she's really.
She would eat her own arm, Kevin.
Yeah, it was prepared by a Michelin chef. Which, by the way, you should not. That should be a disqualification. You should not get a Michelin star if you deign in cannibalism.
Yeah, especially for the people you're supposed to feed to. If people are leaving your meal weighing less or the same as when you fed them, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
I just want to say, very happy that Nia finally got the payoff here, where she worked so hard to get to this thing that was mentioned just this episode.
Yeah. She got it before we knew she was up for it. As far as payoffs go, John, I'm not. Please don't say I'm a hater. Please, no one say I'm a hater.
I'm trying so hard to put up a facade where I'm not a hater.
This is the way you make it mean the least it possibly could, I suppose. So
it's a fucking joke, and the amount of times they all say it too, and it's like, oh, it's such a big deal. Or whatever. They don't talk about it again, so that's
whatever.
Great.
You're in the American Legal Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
And then talking about things that got talked up a bunch, and we're gonna see how much they pay off. It's dinner time.
Yeah, baby.
And folks, TLDR is here, and she cannot get over how amazing this table looks.
John, what's the best table you've ever seen? Do you remember? We all remember. Drop it in the chat on YouTube, patreon.com/Kevin and John. The best table you've ever seen. We all remember where we were.
I gotta say, the best table I've ever seen is in the back room of like one of these board game stores, where they have it's a green felt and terrain all over, and you have like these sweaty, dirty men gathered around this table, moving their like neck toys. But it's like so cool, and it's like, I mean, I don't know how to play that game, but it's like, man, I want to get in on that, because that's like, look at all this shit, man. You gonna move around this table like that? That's the kind of table I'm talking about.
That's a good answer, but LTW's into this one. I want to say the music party playlist is good. Whoever did the music for this show, it's a good. I think it's "Best of My Love," I think is the song that's playing here.
Do you think TLDR is talking about the table itself, or like the little flowers and tea candles on it? Because it looks like a mid-level, and I say that in a good way. It's a mid-level like wedding reception, right? I mean, it's just like little white flowers and tea lights.
It looks nice to me, but also, correct me if I'm wrong, almost everything looks impeccable on this show, generally speaking. Like, that's sort of the deal. Everyone's wildly rich, upper 1% people, and everyone's tremendously, like, stylish, too. So, I do think the table looks good, but it doesn't look notably better than, I guess, anything else I've ever seen on this show. You know,
there would be no reason to remark on this table, but they do, and TLDR is not the only one.
Yes.
But yeah, Charlotte's here too. Charlotte shows up. It's so fancy, she says. Yeah. It's not though, Charlotte.
Kay said, for best table, Kay just said one with food on it. Fucking absolutely, dude.
Bing bong.
He gets it. That's what I'm talking about.
I do like that Charlotte does the, she's like, hey, do you remember, like, look at how fancy this is. Remember when we just used to eat cold noodles here? Or whatever. That's cool. That's like a nice reminiscing. And I definitely thought there'd be more things like that.
Dude. Yeah, and look, maybe it's good for me that it wasn't, because I am a tremendously nostalgic person. Like, it is a personality defect of some sort, probably, like little bit of an emotional problem. I think that I'm extremely like cycling back on even recent past, and always like wishing for a time that I have lived already. But so maybe it is good for me that wasn't the case. But to me, if I'm writing what might be a new series finale, I'm not saying like do a flashback episode, but sitting around and just
don't even think that would have been that bad. I don't love flashback episodes. It doesn't have to be like all flashbacks, but like having a thing where they like look over at a corner, like you're going out of your way to make the apartment a character and like sending off the apartment. It's like, why don't you like look over here? And if it's the same set and the same everything, then like have it be a match or whatever to like, you could see like we're looking at our past selves eating in this corner, or we're looking at our past selves doing this over here. Like, some of that wouldn't have been out of order. It would have been appreciated, I think. I
agree. No, I could give you a list of a couple of smaller scenes we could have cut, I bet, in this. But also want to say Carrie's checkered sparkle dress is a banger.
It's tight. And it's like, what does it look like? It looks like a finish flag at a race, right?
Yeah. Oh, look,
that's what I think.
That's a finale. Good call. I wonder if they intended that. But and then John, Charlotte gets a new fucking iPhone.
Yeah, that's right. She gets a new iPhone because her old one broke, and it's of course the tits or whatever, right? It's got every feature.
Yeah.
I mean, and like, why not? Like, I balk at that sort of thing, but like I'm, if I'm getting a new phone, I'm like, all right, well, I might as well fucking get a nice phone, and then I don't have to worry about it for 4 or 5 years or whatever.
Exactly. That's what happens now, where it's like, if I'm getting a new phone, I think most people just like, all right, I get the newest one. Yeah, that has the things, and then all right, see you in a couple years, I guess.
I wonder if rich people are like pissed that they can't get like, this is the sort of phone a normal person has. Like, is there like a rich person phone that's like obscenely wealthy that I can buy?
Yeah.
But she kind of
that is true, that it's like sort of an equalizer, that like just the best iPhone is pretty much like, there's no Rolls Royce, right? There's no super yacht of phones, right? All these phones are higher technology than what got us to the moon, supposedly, if you believe
that got us to the soundstage. Thank you, Stanley Kubrick.
But yeah, that is a good point.
Charlotte also sees TLDR drinking, and she's like, hold up, honey, what happened? Or whatever. And then TLDR is like, actually the husband at first is like, we lost it, or something like that. And then TLDR goes in with we had a miscarriage.
Thank you for clarifying. Yes. Yeah. And this is, I think Charlotte plays this very, very realistically here, where she's sort of, Charlotte would be someone who's just like, she walks in, she sees you, she's thinking about the baby you've got more than you are in that moment, probably. So she's like, oh, I forget even how she introduced the drinking thing, but kind of on one hand, mind your business. But, it's probably a mocktail or something, and you shouldn't, if she steals the baby, she's, LTW TLDR is 52 years old. She has several kids. This isn't new to her, but then they tell her quietly that this, we don't still have the baby. So she's having a drink, and Charlotte starts to like get emotional, understandable, and and LTW says like, not here, basically, like that's not, which is classy and like difficult and all that.
Yeah. Right. It's almost just like, do you even need to say it? But I guess you do, because Charlotte's, Charlotte sometimes, but it's nice and it's classy, and they're not going to get into it. They also don't get into it later, I don't think, really. So
God, and just like that, aka don't get into it.
Don't ruin my good time.
Right.
And we find out that the chef is using Lizette's apartment for the kitchen, which, boy, we're really pulling at the strings of this tapestry here about why having to win a prize that's a chef comes to your house and cooks using yours. If a cook came to my house to cook, I would be ashamed. I would have to, I don't know what I would do, but like, our shit sucks. I mean, it doesn't suck.
Sucks. God.
I don't even want to be around anymore.
I'd have to be like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry
You
about
suck.
this. No, it's like that. I'm super sorry, dude. If you just want to make it where you are and just like pop it in the oven or something, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But also, like, Carrie's like, oh, my apartment only has an easy bake oven or something. It's like, you have an oven, right, Carrie?
Yeah,
like,
you just put stuff in it.
that's how it works. But yeah, I guess it's also like, if I'm having 16 people in my New York apartment, like having a chef, a sous chef, and 3 like waiters in my own apartment as well is like really tightening things up. But whatever.
Yeah. Also, John, I just want to say, thank God Jackie's back.
Jackie.
Bobby Lee.
Yeah. Yes. Well, yes, Bobby's here. Che shows up first, right? Che shows up and she talks to Lizette for a minute, and Che's talking about how she's in her cocoon era.
Yep.
And Lizette shows her, oh, I like butterflies. I made a butterfly ring. It's like there is nothing there for Lizette.
Lizette, but I want to say the actress, I think, does have some level of it, though, for me. Where she's so happy and positive, just vibes-wise. I think she does a very good job, like, naturally being, like, smiley and positive and laughing. Like, I buy that this is just, like, a person. I think she I don't know acting. Have I been in a movie? People keep saying I have, but like I don't, I'm not. I'm improv trained, I guess, but I don't know other acting. But it seems like she has a particular like style of acting that is like extremely. I'm just a person, So I do like. I like that Lizette has her own vibe, whatever, but also there's just not really much for her to do.
She just seems a little dippy, like she's playing a dippy character or whatever. And dippy people exist, and they're most of the time they're very pleasant. It's just like, I have a butterfly. I like butterflies. I have a butterfly ring. Like, great, Lizette. Cool. Yeah. I'm gonna go talk about this miscarriage. It's way less uncomfortable.
Right.
And then so but Che's actually making a decent point here too, which is unusual for Che, I'd say. But she's they are like, I'm in a transition period because old me sucked. I recognize that, and new me's not here yet. I'm waiting on new me to get here, and it's like, oh, that's cool. That's a good way to think about it. Like, I'm gonna be a new person soon, but I don't know what that new person looks like. So
that's a valid point. It's weird when they write Che as a human. That was interesting. And also Sarah Ramirez was saying, like, had a post recently where they were responding to a profile done about them, and It was, I forget, I want to say Vulture. I could be wrong about that. It might have been, I forget exactly what it was. But Sarah Ramirez was saying, like, yeah, if you, like, basically the reporter they thought was being like snarky and stuff and had an attitude about everything, and specifically Sarah was like, if you have a problem with the lines that are written for an actor and the lines written by a cis white male, maybe that's who you should take your issues to. And I thought, wow, I do wonder how much Sarah Ramirez has been like, are you fucking kidding me with this shit, with this stuff? But I will say Sarah's also like defended the character of Che and like y'all don't get it ways. So I don't think we can give them the most credit in that sense, but I think it's a fair point to be like, you got a problem with how Che's written? It's kind of not, if the problem is what Che says and the events Che does, then it's not my problem, really, you know?
Yeah. How much of this is they're taking my story? How much of Che Pasa is real, Kevin? That's the real question.
Just the Danza parts. But yeah,
this is where Bobby Lee shows up, and he shows up and he does like this playful, absolutely calling out Che 1000% here. Hey, it's the person that fucked up my podcast, aka my career, and to go do a shitty sitcom that failed immediately. Zing, gotcha.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, and then there's the sentence that that's how stand-ups express love. I hate to be that guy. Stand-ups are people. It's, you know, there are probably like trends more openly say the thing that everyone's thinking but not saying. I do think that is a thing that probably they share. But you don't, I don't know, I'm not openly cruel as a joke to my friends, I guess. But yeah.
You don't be openly cruel as a joke. But then they embrace, give me that thing I need, and then they have a brace. Che gets one in on him too, a little bit, like no one would even give you a pilot, you unfunny piece of shit.
Right. And which is funny because Bobby Lee has like certainly had pilots. Like that comedian for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Anyway. And then we see Naya and Miranda show up, but they're in the foyer downstairs first. And they're giving each other a little pep talk, right? I got your back, you got my back, because, you know, Miranda's walking in the fucking lion's den here. Like, she's got two exes that are going to be there. Did we see two exes?
No, Steve's not there, no.
Wasn't he going to be there? He was. They were talked about that, didn't they?
That's a good point.
Some of these people are major league jabronis that show up instead of Steve.
No hate on Bobby Lee, but we said on this show, if that's his last scene, thanks everybody. He talked about getting the shits based on hollandaise sauce or something, and that should be how he goes out. But he comes back with Smoke, his wife, and
the person whose only contribution to the show really has been to fuck up her Met Gala dress.
Like, yeah, you blew it at your job. You blew it at your job, and then you're married to someone we already don't care if he's on the show or not.
But we didn't have room for Steve.
No,
Steve and his single nut. He doesn't even need a whole chair.
He takes up less chair with that nut. Yeah.
But Naya and Miranda are here giving each other the pep talk. I've got your back, you got my back. And then they see the chef who's downstairs at Lizette's apartment.
Yeah.
Coming through the door. And who is it? Of course, folks, everything's a callback. This is like, I kind of like this a little bit. It's Toussaint. You may remember Toussaint. We actually talked about him, I think, in the last episode. A little bit. He's the random guy that hit on Naya back at Bar T, where she was reading the big book and had the purse up. It's when her and Andre were still together, but they were at a rocky place.
Yeah, they were rocky, and it was like they were sort of breaking up, but she was not ready to fully make the move yet. And this is a guy, John, I will say, probably a combination of how he looks, how he sounds, how he acts, all these things. I'm a Kinsey zero. I'm as straight as you can get, but I'm like, he can get it. Whatever it is, I think this guy gets it.
You're saying he's a needle mover for you. on that Kinsey scale.
My needle isn't currently moving, but like I understand how needles would move. Yes.
Yes. Well, it's certainly moving Naya's needle as well. Because you know, he's okay to love now because, well, one, she's separated, and two, we find out that he owned Bar T.
Yeah.
Oh, Bar T for Toussaint. And it's like, no wonder the fucking Wall Hall of Fame fucking swooped in on you, man, with brain power like that. Fucking figured it out.
Also confirmed in the chat, thank you, Leslie, he is hot. We've had it confirmed he is attractive.
Dude, if they're getting Kevin to think about switching sides.
I didn't say
You basically said that, and the chat will confirm. Yeah, the chat's confirming it right now.
Yep, I was just like,
hi, Peanut.
How you do there?
Yeah. Got really nice eyes, I'm hearing as well in the chat.
Yes. So Naya sees all this and she's enamored immediately, and they are back into hitting it off mode, and she tells Miranda to just fucking go on. Leave me here.
Oh,
what about our backs? She's like, you got your back. Your back's fine.
Because
she got dick blindness.
Oh, it surprised me and made me LOL. And after having been accused of having a crush on Naya on this show, it's like, yeah, that's why, man. She nailed that line that just where Miranda was like, what about my back? And she goes, your back's fine. Like, just how quickly that actress killed that line delivery, got an actual LOL from me. And I'm like, look, is that selfish? Yeah, it is. But also, you know what? You've been through a lot lately, and you have to, as a good friend, your friend just like got divorced, and her former partner had a baby with someone else, and she's feeling sad, and now she's like crushing on a guy who's crushing on her. Actually, Miranda, you're on your own. That's I think we would call that bro code, but this is applied to ladies. So it's cis code, I suppose. Cis, but SIS, not ho code.
Okay.
Don't cancel.
That's also what Santa does. That's what he lives by, the ho code.
He lives by a ho code. Yes. Yeah.
And then Miranda goes upstairs and confronts Che immediately. So this is an interesting tactic that I appreciate and I respect. Yeah. I think Miranda's like on one on this episode, as we say. But instead of just being like awkward for so long during this party and eventually doing something, which honestly, now that I say it out loud, it's like maybe this party could have used some more like tension going on, but they diffuse the tension right away, which works for me in reality, but as a drama, maybe not so much. Anyway, Miranda's like, hey, we can't ruin this for Carrie. And Che's like, I would never do that. I'm never going to say that shit on stage again. You got my word, even though I will also say in the same breath that it was funny. It's like, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, it's just, you know. Also, it's not funny, but yeah, go ahead.
So, is it? Look, I also don't think it was funny, just objectively or whatever. But in this world, I do think Chase saying, "I'm never going to say any of that stuff again," and then Miranda going, "It's not funny." To put yourself in the comic way, I absolutely would be like, that's actually not your call. Like that's irrelevant to what we're talking about, really. And also the Miranda they've transformed Miranda into for the And Just Like That run actually doesn't know what's funny. So it wasn't funny because we live on Earth and saw it, but in the show, I'm sort of on Che's side in that one comment.
And then Che also says, like, you know, you were mean to me or whatever. So that's, you know, not that that's excuses my behavior. A lot of caveats for what Che, like, listen, I know I'll never do that stuff again. It was wrong, except that you made me mad and it was funny. But anyway, she's like, you never returned my 2 calls. And it's like, is that what we're talking about? 2 calls? That's it? That's all it was?
No, and I don't buy that for one fucking second that's why Che then wrote those bits. No. Che, those bits were written anyway. That has nothing to do with not returning calls. So, Yeah. And then they reference being a train wreck. Miranda, we were a train wreck. And Miranda's kind of like, and this is a thing where I think you can see how this happens to people who once cared for each other in a way. They sort of, it's hard butting heads, and then you sort of soften once you are just talking normal again. And Miranda's like, a good train wreck though, right? A train wreck that like leaves you in a new place, and there was only that train that could have taken you to this new place. And I think it's a solid analogy actually. And Che sort of reluctantly agrees, I think, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for Miranda, this was a life-changing event and a awakening in her. And then I'd say for Che, was it that bad, honestly? Like,
no.
What you got to stay up all night, smoke weed with your friends, and play video games. Like, nothing really bad. You got to have a 3-way with your husband or whatever. Like, what did you actually have to give up to do any of this?
It kind of barely affected your life. Because Miranda's whole thing was like, oh, I'm new, I'm trying new things, I'm crazy now. So Miranda just fully joined Che's life instead of finding some sort of in between, right? Obviously there was our least favorite episode of all time when Miranda smuggled her phone in and it went off during Che's pilot taping, and then Miranda like actually wasn't even sorry about it because her kid was sad for a day once, and no one else's lives matter in that case. But there was
a real Wyatt back then.
Yeah, it'd be a real Wyatt Shaw, I suppose. So anyway, but yeah, good point. Actually, this could not have been bad for Che, other than that one major day, I suppose.
That one big day. Seema's here. She's brought her guy friend that she just started dating last week, who is, of course, one of Carrie's 16 best friends.
Yeah.
So glad that Ravi could make it to this. Giuseppe and Anthony are here, and they're talking. They're chit-chatting with the LTRWs. And he just sort of casually mentions that he's going back to Rome. And this is the first Anthony's hearing about it. It's like, I'm going back to Rome next month.
No, really, add it to the list, folks, of the John Daly impression experience. He does it, Giuseppe.
New York is how you say? I can't think of the word. It's like when you got the stuff with some big thing in a small place. It's what's that word, Kevin? It's like
impenetrable.
Yes. He must be good at Scrabble.
Yes. He's a what was the he doesn't destroy it, Scrabble, he demolishes. It's a couple more letters, is what Harry says. But yeah, Giuseppe says he's returning to Rome next month. And this is there was a line earlier where Anthony was like, quit looking at my ass. It's not it's not on the
menu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, so Giuseppe's leaving. This is like a shit way to tell someone you're leaving.
I mean,
I don't know. Are we even supposed to like Giuseppe?
Well, Johnny's got a big old cock.
He's got a big wiener, and he's a poet. And
he was a poet for like 3 minutes. Yeah.
He's a public. I mean, like when he's talking about this impenetrable, he's not just talking about Anthony's butt. He's talking about the publishing world, which must be actually frustrating, but
I'm
yes.
sure. Yeah.
So like he is a poet trying to get published, which God, that's got to be fucking hard no matter where you are.
Big time.
But
then we get Seema she's talking about Ravi, and she's clearly like a little paranoid about it. She says he's pulling away, but obviously this is a thing where Seema's just been on this, like, he's trying to leave me, he's pulling away, I said I love you too soon. Yeah, he said it back, but who cares? Kind of like she's spiraling. John, you're shaking your head. Tell me about it.
This does nothing for me. This is like,
I know. Seema's whole deal has kind of done nothing for me in a while, I would say.
Yeah. It's weird. It's like, man, was Kim Cattrall that like irreplaceable, right? Like they're really trying to iron on Sam Jones stuff onto Seema, and it's not sticking.
Yeah. And I don't think it's like not the actress's fault, but I think it's like partially we've seen someone like this before here, and it's someone we adored, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think the actress is bad. She's genuinely glamorous. She's beautiful. She's whatever. But like, this is another case where the complaints are probably higher up the chain here, in terms of what she's been given.
Yeah. I guess also we haven't seen her, like, maybe what part of the beauty of Samantha Jones was we saw her be so independent for so long, so strong and so independent, and then they slot Seema into the same spot, and it's like she hasn't had like a lot of chance to really shine on her own.
Yeah.
She's in a crowded field, and she's been saddled with she had this fucking club owner that she was going after for a while, and then it's this guy, and it's like, I don't know. It's like, oh, I'm being so needy now out of nowhere. It's like, this is kind of all we know you as, really. Like we saw you date a guy with a dick pump once, and that was like the only other thing you did.
Yeah, and that was an interesting episode, right? Like that was
good.
That was like, something's going on here, and you're getting to react in real time in a way that feels authentic in that episode. And yeah, otherwise I wonder if it's a thing where they've just had to, out of necessity, like cut enough of her scenes to the when you're shrinking the episode. And MP King has said he's a guy who writes way more pages than you're like supposed to, which I get that, right? Because it's like, stronger team if you have to cut things you like, right? But also you probably end up cutting some people more than others, and you've now probably cut so much of Seema that Seema doesn't matter in terms of what we see on air that much. And this guy Ravi, he's an attractive fella, we get that. He is on his phone all the time, and I get that he's got like his job going on, but this probably comes up later. Yeah, it does come up later, so I guess I won't get into it. But he does say, or when in this moment, like, as Seema's complaining to Carrie about, he's pulling away, Carrie's like, no, you're pulling away. I see what's happening. You're the one who's pulling away.
Yeah, and that's great, because it is nice, because that is what's happening. It's just like, so her paranoia is so apparent, I guess. It's like, Seema, you're wrong. Like, you're just wrong. Like,
yeah,
I don't even know if he's on his phone that much, but like, no amount of him being on his phone is like worth you acting like this. Like,
right.
If he sucks, then cut him loose. Why'd you bring him here? And if he doesn't suck, then what are you complaining about? Like,
yeah. And we're just so not invested in any of it, I think is ultimately the issue here. So it's like, I actually just don't care. Just, can you end it, please? So then we have Giuseppe, who's like, no, I'm not. Anthony says I won't let you in my ass, so you're leaving the country. And he's like, no, you're always making excuses. Do not let me in. Too young, too old, a poet, a sphincter. And he's just going through all these things. And Anthony, I do believe, is like, yeah, you're right.
You're right. And too young, too old, poet, sphincter. So good.
It is good.
And he's like, it's not about is this about my ass or whatever? And he's like, it's not about your ass walls. It's about your other walls, and pokes his chest or whatever. And it's like, I'm sorry. I've just had, I've only been in love like once before, and I was really controlling or something. And and then Giuseppe's like, you love me? And he's like, what? I never told you I love you. And it's like, come on, Anthony. You'd know if you said it or not.
That's a big one. You're aware when it comes out of your mouth the first time, I think. And then, John, we get the cat. The cat gets introduced to the party by Carrie, and the cat's name is Shoe. And it's a double meaning. Carrie loves shoes, and it's to say shoe to the cat when it's in your shoe.
When it's in your shoe.
And
when
it's
you're wearing your Jimmy shoes.
Jimmy shoes.
Jimmy shoes.
Yes.
And she tells him, oh, it's time for him to go to bed or whatever. It's like, cats sleep for 20 hours a day, Carrie.
Yeah, do cats have bedtimes?
No, absolutely not. This cat was alone in your apartment for weeks before this party.
Carrie dropped just a full pant load of carrots in the middle of the floor, was like, is this good? And left. And then just, I
Googled it.
Yeah, but when Carrie says, so there's intercutting for comedic purposes in a very otherwise serious scene here, because Carrie says good night baby to her kitty, and I think that's fine, but
Yeah, you're allowed to do that.
Yeah, but when she says "goodnight, baby," that sort of triggers LTW, who just lost a baby, and
that nobody knows about. So it's not like Carrie, should have been more tactful.
No, of course, and that's just a thing that I think it's not just with like miscarriages and this sort of a situation, but like there's so many situations in life where someone could say something with no idea that this is bringing up a hurtful feeling for you, right? Like, you everyone's just going about their life, and I'm sure that's the thing. Like, I've thought about that with the podcast. Obviously, this is a pretty freewheeling thing. We've talked on air for like 200 hours plus at this point, so I'm sure we've accidentally said things that conjured up something that made someone feel bad, not intentionally. Obviously, we're not people who try to be insensitive or anything, but like, this just happens in life, right? And LTW, I think, handles it great, but like the feelings well up in her, so she excuses herself.
The sight of a young mammal is enough to set her off at this point, whether it's human or cat. Anyway, she excuses her. She goes to the restroom, and this is illustrates for me something really quick, because she has to hustle by the gays making out in the closet. Which makes it sound worse than it is. They're out of the closet, and yet they're in this closet. But totally. I guess Carrie's only bathroom is in the closet adjoining her bedroom.
It is a weird place for the bathroom. I never thought
about that before.
I've never seen an apartment in New York City in 19 years of living here that had this setup. Quick check in on the chat, John. Just that and Michelle said I could live forever happily without hearing ass balls again. And Leslie points out rightfully that she did kill Aiden's plant and lost his dog at some point in terms of how she deals with animals. So that does seem true. But when TLDRs run into the restroom to just like, be emotional without ruining the party, that's a cool move, and that's respectable, and it's also very difficult. She goes by a now suddenly making out Anthony and Giuseppe. And John, I bet you noticed, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but
hi, penis. How do it, penis?
You didn't. They made a big old boner in Giuseppe's pants for this one.
Oh, I did not notice that.
Yeah, really popping out there.
Like, do you get to see the hog, or is it in his pants?
It's in his pants, but the hog is rustling under the covers, I think we would say.
Is it animated? Did they get the special
it's a GIF. It's a GIF. Yeah, it's been memed. No, but they like, it is such a funny and subtle way for them to keep character consistency. Like, guys, remember, we've established Giuseppe has a big old pepperoni in there, and we have to show it poking out if he's excited. So it's going to
be hard to remember sometime. I hope who knows if he'll show up again. Maybe he'll go to Rome, but
that's true.
And then Herb comes and visits his wife in the tub.
Yes.
And she's like, did I wish the baby away? And I was just thinking like, oh, it's like The Secret, but like for family planning. Or whatever.
Right.
But like, he's like, no, babe, you didn't wish it away. Shit happens, I guess. I mean, I don't want to be flippant about it, but that's basically what the discussion was.
But I think that's being actually mature and supportive about it, is him saying, no, you didn't mystically, destroy what would have eventually been a child. This happens, right? Like, this is not that you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything wrong. It's a fucking numbers game with this shit. So like, it didn't happen this time. But it also makes perfect sense that she would be wondering like, oh, I was having these feelings. Like, I didn't really want this, and expressing legit fears and stuff. Yeah.
Even when you have the baby and stuff happens, it's like, oh shit, did I do any number of things wrong? And it's like, well, logically no, but illogically, there's a million things I should have done this thing differently or that thing differently.
Totally. Yeah. And what I like best in this scene in terms of how the actors played it was how our friend George Washington here says, like, after he says like, no, it just wasn't meant to be, God has other plans for us, he says, do you want to leave? And the tone with which he asked. Now you're pumping your fists, and I'm curious your vibe. I thought his tone was great because it felt like he meant it and was not judgmental. Like that, I felt like he was like, if you want to leave, we can just like go, and it's not a big deal. You know, like
that is great, and that's not judgmental, and that's wonderful. It's hard to do. I will say, I'll say this: if it was a party for his own donors, would he have been as forthcoming with this sort of invite to voluntarily leave? I don't know. If you're at a party with her friends and
yeah. Right, that's a fair question. I think ultimately it ends on the side of good, but it is a fair question if he was with the boys. would he be so quick? I think he would have been, but good point. These are her friends, and he's like, this is a big thing I'm doing. Like, I could just leave, and that would be fine.
Yeah, if you want to stay here with your friends, if I'm in the way on this, I'll just go. But no, I was getting excited, Kevin, because he asked if she wants to leave, and her response got me, Kevin. It got me because she said, "No, the table is too pretty." Yes,
and I did hear about how MP King and the gang felt this line, and there's a writer on the show who hits one word in the most aggressive French accent she possibly can every single episode, and she and MP King both were kind of like, and just the class she displays about the table, and I'm like, I don't know. She has handled this tremendously classy, like she has. There's absolutely throughout to this point. I don't know what y'all think the fucking table's doing. I don't know. Sorry, I'm too poor to understand, I guess. But
is the table a metaphor? Is the table like the whole show? And they're like, "Do you want to leave the show now?" And she's like, "No, I don't want to leave the show."
Honestly, I think this is like very rich people being like, it's actually classy if you see something fancy and you appreciate it. Like, if you see a fancy table and you respect it for the art it is, that makes you a better person. Like that, I think they actually read that as like a quality in a person. And LTW has been like amazing, handled herself with huge class this whole episode. That moment didn't do shit for me. Yes.
You think I'm gonna leave when that table's here? Just
table,
unbelievable.
Which, by the way, doesn't even have food on it yet. To Kay's point earlier about how good tables have food. As Leslie says, the olives aren't eating themselves and then licking a tiny spoon.
This spoon's not going to lick itself. It's time, folks. It's time for the meal, the repast.
Oh, and there's name tags on the table, John, with your best friends. How do you feel about that?
I only saw that at the end when they were sitting down later, and was like, this is pointless. I mean, I guess you kind of need it for some reason if you think there's going to be a Miranda Che fallout scene or something.
Okay, I'll allow that. Right.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just the thing classy people do too. I don't know. We're fucking slobs. I'm putting my elbows on the table, folks. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But Toussaint's here, and he's explaining his quote unquote meal. And did you end up watching the menu with Ray Fiennes and
no, but it's written by a friend of mine.
Oh, really? Cool.
Seth Reese, who's a writer on we were pages together at Letterman, and then he's been a writer for Seth Meyers for a long time. Yeah, he wrote the menu.
That's cool. It was I saw it and I liked it, but this quote unquote meal is like exactly like that to me, which is to say it's just like a massive parody of like when anyone does parodies of fine dining, it seems like it's indistinguishable from what this is, which is like put out like a real thing.
Yes, a parody of fine dining is indistinguishable from people just enjoying the most ostentatiously wealthy, rich fine dining you could possibly have. There's no difference. Yes, totally. And I do like John. Naya, I would say, is on one here. Naya is like, she is just as horny as anyone's ever been. My God.
Because it's green olive. You eat the green olive.
Yeah.
Then you eat the black. Then you eat the black one.
Yeah.
It's important you have to say black one here, because if you say black olive, it doesn't work.
Yep. And then you lick the spoon, right?
Yes. And that has essence of tangerine blossom, I believe, on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Naya clarifies for a second, like, hold up. So I lick the spoon after the black one. I lick it after the black one to the chef, and he's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she goes, it exploded in my mouth. I wasn't expecting that. And I'm like, I just wrote fucking, well, I guess I can invoke
Come on, dude.
come on, dude. I look, I love it, but I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
This is like having a 15-year-old boy writing the funniest joke he knows or whatever. It's like, what if it busts in her mouth?
Oh, we got a fucking R-rated Bazooka Joe rapper joke over here.
Fucking once you go black olive, you don't go back olive.
True, but it's great. It's entertaining, and that's what I want.
It's entertaining. It is like, also, I mean, gosh, is this real? Is this like what a Michelin star restaurant does? Like,
yeah,
this is
you get
obviously
2
just
olives.
like one course. This is obviously just one course of it, but it's like, it's 2 olives and you lick a spoon, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound like a good time?
Yeah. Then Seema, the next thing I think after this is Seema, her guy runs away from the table again, and she calls out that she said the I love you, and points out, and then he points out that like he replied with it. He runs away, he runs down the stairs, he's taking a call. There's this Egypt is calling. There's all this like movie business going on.
Oh yeah, it's the Great Sphinx, Kevin.
It's the Great Sphinx.
They switch the dates on me, and if I want to shoot at the Great Sphinx, then I have to go now. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Giuseppe's just like, he wants into my Great Sphincter.
Giuseppe wants the Great Sphinxter, folks. That's what he wants to get in. We just need to mix up the couples a little bit, and we're gonna figure it out. But yeah, he goes down, and well, Seema's sort of freaking out about it, talking about the I love yous. And he's like, yeah, and I replied and said I love you too. I'm like, Seema is paranoid, but also this guy is so on the phone that like he's not present. He's like not at dinner. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess if he is, I mean, I don't know what being a director of a major motion picture super entails, but like it is, I mean, it does sound like some of those calls are going to be having to take precedence on things. And it's like, you kind of know that, I guess, going into it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not like, I guess her worry is like, oh, are you on TikTok with all the babes or whatever? And he's like, I haven't ticked or talked since we started dating. And you know what I mean by that. He has to add, because they know that line couldn't get there on its own. They knew that, they gave up on it.
It needed a fucking Mario Kart mushroom usage to like blast your turbo up there. Yeah. But John, then we get after this, there's a Carrie toast where Carrie stands up and says, sure. Well, don't say sorry. You say everything that's in your heart, John. That's why this is a podcast.
This is a fucking awful party idea, folks. Do not try this at home.
I agree. I hate this shit in general.
It's reverse Thanksgiving is what it is. I don't know if how many Thanksgivings you've gone to, especially like a big family or whatever.
Like what family are you thinking of, John?
Just like
is it a family that we share, actually?
Just like a big family.
Is it maybe my dad's side of the family that you've married into now?
Just like a thing that sometimes people do. This is a common thing, Kevin, is that people go around and say what they're thankful for.
Yeah.
And it's just like, at least with Thanksgiving, you can like gird yourself a bit and be like, all right, when this shit's going to happen, I know it's going to happen. I'm going to say I'm thankful for whatever you're thankful for. Or whatever, and hopefully no one says the same thing, right? Because that's like, well, then I copied off this person or whatever.
Right.
And it's especially worse if you happen to be, sort of going into a family that this is your first time or second time with this family or whatever.
Yeah. So I must ask, did you do this with the McCaffreys on Long Island at any point?
It sounds like Clue. Was it John with the McCaffrey family on Long Island? Yeah, I think we did. I think we did one of these.
Do you remember what you were thankful for?
I said I was thankful for having a great big family to hang out with on Thanksgiving. I think I put the family over, Kev.
What a baby face. That's a great move. But I agree. Maybe, and if you like this, great. I thought for a TV scene, good. I get it. Totally makes sense. But I got anxiety watching this begin. And honestly, as a party host, if this is going to happen, you have to tell people you're going to do this earlier in the night.
Absolutely. She
Don't
wants
cause
everyone,
an improv thing.
She wants everyone to go around and say something they want to get rid of. I'm getting rid of this apartment. Everyone go around and say something
you're going to let go
you
of.
want to let go of. It can only be one word, and there can be no repeats.
Yeah. Could you not give me a fucking game show challenge at your party, please? This, and John, not for nothing, I don't think it's cocky to say you and I would be elite at this, generally speaking. We're quick thinkers, we're good with words, whatever. We can do this, but I don't think people should be required to.
No, it's really putting people on the spot. And like the no repeat thing is just like, well, you're just adding a level of difficulty for no reason.
Now it's a game. Now it's not genuine.
Yeah, it's like, well, can two people not let go of the same thing, Carrie? I'd be like, hold on, Egypt's calling me now. I need to fucking go.
Egypt's calling most of us. And I did write down what everyone let go of.
I thought about doing I wrote down the noteworthy one, in my opinion, the noteworthy ones.
So I'll read them off, and then you hit me with thoughts about each, if you have them, okay? Cool. So, Che, letting go of rules.
Thank God. Che's had too many rules this whole time, burdened unduly by rules.
Che's letting go of something that's never affected their life in any way since we've known them. Congratulations, we're so proud of you and happy. Smoke, letting go of competitiveness. And John, if there's one thing we know about Smoke, it's that Smoke has been so competitive to the point where she's blown literally every opportunity she's had at a high level job. So that does nothing for me. Don't know what it does for you.
Yeah, nothing. Never forgot who you were already.
Yeah. Bobby Lee / Jackie says letting go of Smoke because Smoke's, I don't know, made some
That's
sort of
funny, dude. Letting go. Bobby Lee, don't even joke about that because you don't want to even put that idea in their head. They're way hotter than you are.
Yep. Is Bobby Lee doing a take my wife please situation here?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, Henny Youngman. Then he goes, no nervousness. And nervous, that's a better answer.
It is better. I mean, he seems like an extreme extrovert every time we've ever seen him, but I mean, that could just be nervousness manifesting.
Oh, so many people, I think, out of nervousness never shut the fuck up. You know, I think one of the most confident things you can do in a social setting sometimes is to listen. But then Anthony says he's giving up control. He's letting go of control.
Yeah, all right.
Giuseppe says Rome, which is the most specific of the things. Ravi says social
media. Hold on.
Yeah, okay.
I did have a thing about Giuseppe where it's like, once again, it's like, man, you only told us you were going to Rome 40 minutes ago, pal.
Yeah, this is a short ride.
Was it 100% an emotional ploy to get in this man's ass or whatever?
You must really want to get in that ass.
I'm going to threaten to go to Rome and then tell him I'm going to give up going to Rome.
Look,
I'm going to take up smoking. And then by the end of this podcast, I'm going to give up smoking. And it's going to be very brave of me. I'm going to let that go.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what, you would have built that up better than Naya's American Law Institute path, I guess. Ravi's giving up social media, and folks, it means a lot when a hot 59-year-old man gives up TikTok. We love that. That's a lot. Seema's giving up distrust, which is okay, but also at a table situation while you look at your significant other in this situation, it's like, all right, I feel like you're letting us in on a fight in a way that I didn't need to be let in on. Naya says I'm giving up yesterday, which is like a pretty, John's rolling his eyes. I was going to say it's deep, but I think deep and an eye roll are two valid responses to that.
No, I mean, the problem is this sets off basically a string of she says yesterday, and then whoever's next says guilt, and then the next person also says guilt.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess if you remember the names of those people, because it was Naya.
Oh, of Guilt? I'll tell you.
TLDR was the second Guilt because she was like, sorry, Carrie, I'm breaking the rules. I'm saying Guilt twice.
Well, it's weird because like Miranda said regret, and then LTW said guilt, and did sort of apologize.
No, because Miranda said regret, and then she changed it to guilt, I think.
Oh, well, fuck you, Miranda. You used one no one else used, and then you jumped to another? Shut the fuck up.
I know, but the thing is, those are all like, and then Lizette's next, and she says fear, right? Lizette says fear.
Lizette, well, LTW says guilt, and then George Washington says, come back to me. And they never do. So he's the one who never gives one. Yeah, it is fine. We stand. I'm not participating in this. Lizette says fear. And she's like, was that too real? And everyone's like, oh, we were all too scared to say that. Harry says,
oh, wait, it's the other thing. Sorry. Tedious. The fucking yesterday, guilt, fear. It's like, come on, guy. Oh, the thing I'm going to let go of is feeling bad about myself or whatever. Like, yeah, okay. Yeah. That's a good thing to give up feeling. Some of y'all do need to feel more bad about some of your things.
One of my biggest beliefs about fucking society and humanity is a lot of us could use a lot more shame. I don't think, honestly.
Catholic Corner with Kevin McCaffrey.
Two-time Godfather, two-time confirmation sponsor, absolutely not Catholic. But yeah, I honestly, this sounds like pandering. Patreon.com/Kevin and John, but we've gotten to know the people who have been like Patreon supporters of ours, and who are in the chat right now too. And I don't think any of us need more shame. I think this group of people are people who like second guess themselves when they don't need to and I think it comes from a root of empathy. And I think a lot of America and a lot of the world does not have enough empathy, does not have enough shame, does not have enough like just getting outside yourself and stopping being self-centered to the point where you ever consider that maybe am I the problem in this situation. And I think it is telling that so many of the things here are like, I need to give myself more credit. It's very like Oprah, like late 90s, early 2000s Oprah, where it's like, you know what the problem is? Tell you what, not you. It's someone else, and I hate that shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It also feels like I just replied to a work email. Time to check my phone for 15 minutes. Like, I get a little treat now or whatever.
Exactly.
Like,
Harry says possessiveness. I don't know if that's his thing.
That's what I wrote. It's like, where did this come from? I don't think that's your deal.
No, I think, I don't know, mild laziness. It's hard to, I don't know. And then Charlotte says limits.
Which is like, man, wow. Are you going to take the limitless pill, Charlotte? I'm going to get rid of my limits.
She's fucking Jason Statham. And then Carrie says expectations. And of course, she gave the one-word rule and then says expectations and then takes out a handheld microphone and starts walking the stage and does her TED talk and is like letting go of it. And like the meaning is good here where she says letting go of assuming that things will go the way we think they should. And this is like such a, I don't know, I would say certainly like a 40 plus level of life, right? Where it's just, and that is what, I mean, this show is exploring like 50 plus. Sure. But it's just like life isn't what you thought it was going to be. It didn't, the finale you thought it was in your life, like, oh, it's just coasting from here on out. Psych, you're not, like shit's going to swerve on you. And I think that's something you and I both can relate to probably. And
swerving, it's just one big swerve, folks. It never stops swerving.
And John, can I read from the chat real quick after that rundown? We've got, let's see, Spencer Herrera, drop it.
Hey, Spencer.
Spencer, anyone in chat talking about this is probably from like 10 minutes ago, but about real food service / industry workers or peasants otherwise. If they're not, I assume if they're not like Michelin starred people. Leslie said, I'm thankful for this podcast. Kristen says some of these guests almost never interact, so it seems weird to do in front of strangers. Big agree on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
These people don't. Yeah, what everyone at this table. Yeah, Naya, Naya being in the same room with many other people is crazy.
Yeah, Leslie said, "Bring back shame." Michelle said, "Nope, I'm full up." Yeah, so I think we're all feeling similar things here.
Yeah. Yeah. Carrie really says the most here, and she does well with the speech. I mean, you can tell she's an article writer. But it's like, also, to be fair, she knew the question in advance, so she had like more of an elaborate thing going on, and it's well spoken. And then Che actually has she says Carrie, or they say Carrie, Carrie, they raise their glass. Carrie, that was way more than one word. And folks, it's a joke.
It's a joke.
That's a good joke.
It's a joke. It's landing a thing that it was presented all right. So good for you.
Good for you. And then Miranda gets a call. It's okay when Miranda gets a work call, though. Nobody bats an eye at that.
You can get a work call a little bit.
A little bit. She has to bail, folks, because it's not entirely clear to me what her boss is like doing baby stuff, of course, because they have a 5-week-old, so it makes total sense. But I'm gonna go be on the BBC. And then she runs downstairs and passes Naya, and like, tells Naya, I'm gonna be on the BBC. And Naya's like, if I play my cards right, I'm gonna be on the BBC too. Do you know?
Now, come on. You know what you did there. And do I respect it? I do.
Thank you. That's all I want.
They had the balls, they would have made that joke.
I think they alley-ooped us here. They set it up so people at home could make that joke.
Also, I think Naya would make that joke. The character that Naya's been built up to be is Naya's like a really good lawyer, but also sort of like an introvert, and then gets like sloppy quick. I feel like which is interesting. That's why I'm crushing. And yeah, so we know Miranda's going to do, I think, John, as you referred to earlier, we know she's going to go climb that big redwood of a lesbian, I think what she said.
We see her get all the way in the cab too, Kevin. We see Miranda get all the way in the cab. This is like, I guess we needed 5 extra seconds to show here. Why would you do this? It's so bizarre.
It's a great question. And like, I thought it was, are we going to focus on sort of the final moment of everyone leaving the apartment? And this is a thing that happens when you're leaving a place that's important to you, that the final moment leaving that, you put weight on it. And I've certainly thought I have to leave in a way that's worthy of the place or something, but that's just not how the world works. So Miranda rushes out, but I was like reading the letters on top of the cab to be like, is there a signal here that they're giving us that I'm not? Yeah. And it was like 4-something-18. I'm like, no, not really. It was
a museum of sex ad.
Yeah, ad on top. So it was weird to sort of linger on this, but Miranda sort of bounces, and that's like, inauspiciously leaves Carrie's apartment for the last time. And then we get Ravi, who's vaping, and invites.
You never been more upset with someone in this whole show.
This guy's like his phone usage and just his light up vape shit. I'm just like, are you trying to be like the coolest 19-year-old on this show right now? Is that what you're doing? I say that as someone who's 41 and has 200,000 TikTok followers. So I hypocrite. But Rob,
if we get enough Patreon, new and updating Patreon people, Kevin will floss on this podcast.
I don't think physically I can floss.
He can either floss his teeth or do the floss dance.
Oh, I can floss my teeth.
Choice. Your choice.
But Ravi's vaping, and then basically invites her to Cairo for 5 months, and Seema's like, I'm not giving up my career and the person I am, for this. But she does say, I've never felt this way about you, about anyone. And so that's her being vulnerable again. And he does say he's coming back.
He does. It's just sort of weird because it's like, I guess you guys knew this was gonna happen, right? Like, they flip-flopped the Cairo and NYC shoot or whatever, right? So like, that's why he would have had to go to Cairo at the end of whatever the NYC shoot was anyway, right? I mean,
right.
This is sort of like we're going to have to face this problem one way or the other, no matter what. But yeah, he says he has to come back because of the ironclad lease she made him sign.
Yeah. And we all laugh about that.
Yeah, it just also is like, you guys have only been dating for like 2 months and you're gonna take a 5-month break. Like, that's pretty wild to me. I mean, I guess if you guys are in love, which you've said while you were inside each other, then
which has to be taken with a grain of salt, I suppose.
Yeah, so I don't know. It seems like a big ask to me. At this point, I want to say
it's not the biggest ask of the show, which we'll get to, but at this point, yes,
yeah, it turns out that there's another ask that will dwarf this. Yeah, Miranda gets to the BBC broadcasting station, I should say, in case there's any confusion about which BBC she gets to. But Joy reintroduces herself, and she says Joy, and then Miranda says Fear, which is like, this is good. Miranda's on it in this episode.
I think if Miranda says, yeah, that's when you know Miranda's like, oh shit, you're ready to go live on camera now. You're quick, you're popping. Yeah, and BBC wise, I want to say Michelle dropped in and said, can you imagine if Miranda had to go to the BBC studios and we got Miranda and Samantha together in London next season?
Ooh.
That's a thing. And the Janine joined the chat and said, I still think the tattoo of her initials is dumb, which we'll get to in a minute. But keep talking.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. She just gets she sits down and they're about to put her on camera, and it's like, I mean, does she have like a script, or she's just reading off the teleprompter, or she's just going live? I don't know. But she looks at her wrist and it has MH on it, so she remembers who she is in this instance.
My humps, my lovely lady lumps.
My London Bridge is about to fall down for this.
It's any Fergie song that fits.
Yeah, right before she goes on, Joy shouts, "Hey, we should go for a drink after this." And Miranda says, "I don't drink." And Joy says, "You might." And then Miranda says, "No, you see, I'm an alcoholic. I can't."
Actually, you shouldn't assume things like that about people. Like, after it's innocuous on the first comment, but when you follow up, it's a little presumptuous. Yeah, and they presumably cut some of that. But then Carrie, we get a shot of Carrie, and Carrie's carrying a cat around.
That's why they call her that.
Yeah, because she carries kitties and around the dining room. And John, then we get rocks being thrown at the window, which is kind of sweet. Aiden's throwing rocks at the window.
Mm-hmm. But when the evil son does it on Desperate Housewives and accidentally blinds Terry Hatcher, that's not as romantic, I guess. You follow us at patreon.com/Kevin and John.
Thank you.
To check out our Desperate Housewives podcast.
Rate and review us, Daddy. We're doing that next week. We're doing the finale of season 1. So,
oh my gosh,
little teaser.
I'm very looking forward to it.
Yeah, Aiden throws rocks at the window, and then John, he actually goes into the apartment. How do you feel about this?
Well, at first, it's like, wow, this fucking country lurch just left his idiot son in the lurch. I shouldn't say idiot, but and he crosses the threshold, and I was like, oh my God. And he's not saying anything about it. And like for a solid second, she wasn't saying anything about it to me. And then she's like, oh, you are in my apartment. He's like, yeah, whatever. And she's like, what do you want to drink? I have everything. And he's like, yeah, I'll take a beer. It's like, well, I have everything but beer. It's like, Jesus, Carrie. I mean, that's a big one though, isn't it?
If you're having a party, you need, if you have 16 people, I think you should have 16 beers minimum, even if you don't think people are drinking beer, like in your fridge. I would say Kev's party manners. And I don't drink beer, as you know. I will, but that's not, it's down the list.
That's not how you roll.
Liquor 1, wine 2, beer 3 is my rankings. So I do think it's weird to not have a beer in your house when you just have that. And also, if you were still hoping for Aiden to come over and you know how he drinks, whatever. But he comes in, apparently he's cool to walk in the place now. It's been the whole fucking season he can't walk in the door, but
he says he doesn't actually. If you don't have beer, don't worry about the drink. You might need a drink though, Carrie, so help yourself.
That's what she
also
gathers.
I don't have a luggage. I don't have any bit of luggage, and it's like, ooh, these are all good omens.
Yeah, and this was like, to me, I get it. I do think there are conversations like this, but it was maddening watching it happen to me, where he says, yeah, I'm leaving tomorrow. And then she's like, oh, so are you coming back after that? And he goes, I don't think I can come back up. And, my son, he had psilocybin. How do you pronounce it? Was that it?
I think that's right. I think you got it.
Basically did mushrooms. I don't know. I don't do drugs, kids.
Drugs do Kevin. That's it.
I'm a bottom for drugs. But I put drugs in my ass, but otherwise. But I'm just now thinking of someone trying to do mushrooms up their ass, and it's just like, it's crumbling. It's a bad way to do it. But Aiden's like, I don't think I can come back. He did mushrooms and crashed his car. And Carrie's
Where
like,
does someone even get mushrooms, Kevin? Where does someone even get mushrooms?
Did he say that?
Said that? Yeah.
Dude, I don't do drugs, and mushrooms are like pretty good drugs. Like, if your kid's gonna do drugs, if you find out your kid's doing drugs, that's the first thing you find out. And then the follow-up is they did mushrooms. That's not the worst. That's like...
Yeah. It's not like he did ketamine or he did like...
Yeah, or even cocaine. Like, I would say mushrooms better than cocaine if I'm ranking them.
If we're ranking the drugs, Kevin...
Heroin, obviously, is worse.
The power rankings of drugs. You say your son was on hashish?
Your son was on Acapulco Gold. So, yeah, Aiden just, like, keeps saying things that are ominous and then not following it up.
Right.
And then Carrie's like, understand. I think SJP plays it really well because she like puts her head in her hand. She's like, what are you saying? Because like he's never quite saying it, because he goes, no, I don't think I can come back up. And she's like, well, what about when he's with your wife? And he goes, this happened when he was with my wife. So I'm like, all right, so you've been the primary parent. I get it. And then he's like, and it's not just him, my other kids, they're 17 and 20. And John, I swear, fucking, I'm like throwing
Did
things
you do
at my
some
TV.
mushrooms and drive into a tree when you heard that? Because it's pretty bad. What about my 20-year-old son? Like, is he at home even? Where's your fucking 20? Is he I assume he's at university or learning a trade somewhere. Like,
yeah, it's your 20-year-old doesn't need you like that. Sorry, right. They don't. This is your ego being like, they need me. They fucking don't. And if they do, you fucking blew it, man. I mean, there's some scenarios where that wouldn't be the case, but none of these, I don't think.
Yeah, it's tough because, I don't know. If I had a 14-year-old, if one of my kids was 14 and then just got in a car accident, I'd be I might be more like, yeah, no, this makes sense, but it's like, yeah, Kathy was watching him when he did this. And it's like, well, that doesn't mean that, that doesn't disqualify Kathy from ever watching them again.
No. Yeah.
So,
and he's like, but Kathy's been out of town sometimes. So now you understand why I have to disappear for 5 years is what it gets to. And I guess I'm probably, skipping over a little bit.
No, not a bunch.
But Carrie trying to hang on here and understand what he's saying is so... It is relatable to I don't know. It feels real to me. It feels brutal, and she's just like, it's like, fuck. What are you saying, man? Like, what? Can you cut to the fucking chase with this? And he goes, "Here's the thing. No, just I won't lose you again. It sounds like you're losing her again." And he goes, "Give me some time, just till Wyatt's out of his teens." Teens aren't a magical age.
Right.
You're in, I graduate, when I went to college, I was 17 into 18. I was a teen for half of college. What are you talking about? And Carrie says, I can't believe we're back here again. And God damn it, I felt for her there.
Yeah. It was surprising to me too. Also, it's like, just until he's out of his teens. Well, you already mentioned your 20-year-old needs you like that or whatever. You mentioned him
who isn't troubled.
Who's not troubled and is not in his teens. So yeah. So can I come visit you sometime? Carrie is like, all right, well, you can't come up here. Can I come and visit you? And he's like, no, I'd be thinking of you the whole time or whatever. And it's like, dude, if you can't even entertain a guest, if you can't take her on while she's like, I do not think that. I was like, oh, you want me to wait 5 years? And then he starts talking about like, oh, you know how we talked about how 10 years went by like in a snap. Well, 5 years is going to go by and then nothing. Like he held up he did like a non-snap. It's going to be that quick. I did snap or whatever. And it's like, it's just like where the Riz of Aiden hits the wall or whatever, where it's like,
right, where Aiden runs out of gas, kind of where it's like, I'm not into it anymore.
Yeah.
God damn it. How did you do this?
I just need to like get you to wait for me for 5 years. It's like it's insane. And like this is like more or less where this scene ends, and it's like, well, she's not going to do that, right? That's patently absurd.
Because this is such arrogance from Aiden too. The fact that like he never felt the need to immediately clarify what he was saying, that he was like, no, I'm just telling you things. You can't visit me because I don't have the attention span. I think about you all the time, so I can't parent if you're in the state of Virginia. That won't work. Fuck you, dude. And then he's like, yeah, I can never come up here again. I actually can't leave the state because my kid crashed a car once. And I'm not saying crashing cars are good. That's not promising. But a lot of people have crashed a car. A lot of people have gotten into trouble in their teens. You know, I didn't crash any cars, but I was drunk the whole time, basically. And look at how good things are going for me. You know, my dad got to stay in New York the whole time since I was 8. So it just like, it was really, I don't know. This reads to me like Aiden is not ready for a relationship, and him saying, I won't lose you again. Just give me to Wyatt's out of his teens. That's 5 years. That's nothing. You know how 10 years went by? You've been given the gift of reconnecting with a soulmate after 10 years. You've been given this absolute fucking gift. And now he's saying, give me 5 years. He's not valuing her life or her time. Because he's like, I need the 5 years, and you just do whatever you do, I guess. Like, he is not counting it as 5 of her years, you know?
Yeah. This is like unconscionable to a degree where like, is it like not a serious offer almost, where it's like, yeah, you know, it's more like, hey, let's check in on each other in 5 years. And if we're both single again, great. And if not, then it wasn't meant to be. I don't want that. We're not breaking up because I don't want to break up with you. We're just going to go on a permanent hiatus, and then we'll check back in 5 years. Like, yeah, it's weird because it's like, I don't know. They're not saying that, but it's also like, I guess that's what, I mean, functionally, that's what it's going to be, right? Because you can't, surely no one on earth would ever be like, yeah, I'm gonna wait 5 years. Like,
it is beyond unreasonable to me. And in the chat we got like, you know, why can't the kid come to the city? Great question. You know, he should be able to travel with him, like, you know how sort of like Con Air, I'm picturing, where it's just like the kid's handcuffed and you fly with them, and it's like, all right, we're going to Times Square, we're gonna see a play, we're gonna go see my girlfriend,
we're gonna go to the M&M store, you're gonna hear some mind-boggling orgasms from the next room over.
Yeah. Yeah, I make them nut. And yeah, so it is. For what an episode that I thought was so well done, for the most part, this is just like, this is a no. And then, John, they have sex. They have good sex after this, and I'm not really buying that.
So this is a montage. We got a big montage here. The montage starts with Charlotte and Harry setting up her iPhone, Charlotte's new iPhone, and they're not having much luck with it. And they talk about getting Rockin' to do it, which is great with kids know technology, right, folks?
Right.
And it's like, this is another thing where it's like, is this a metaphor or something? Like, I get like, okay, they're working together to put this phone together. I don't know what the point is, but okay.
The new writer who wrote for The Cosby Show back in the day and says a word as French as she can every second, did say on the MP King podcast, this is one of the most romantic scenes on this show for anyone who's married. And I'm just like, I don't know, you're a fucking alien. I don't know what you're talking about. Ever.
There was that. Hey, you guys remember that good scene between Steve and Miranda in the beginning of the episode?
God, that was
good time, wasn't it? I'm nostalgic for the beginning of this episode.
Nostalgic for 40 show minutes and an hour and 20 podcast minutes ago.
Miranda's having an intellectual conversation with the BBC lesbian.
Yep.
And we don't get to hear what that is, but we get to see facial reactions, which means that it must be a good combo.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice that you don't actually have to write an interesting conversation for this show. You just sort of get to imply that one happened, and that's good enough.
I mean, they implied that they've been happening between Carrie and Samantha for months now, so I guess that's cool. But I do want to point out the opening image, closing image. The season opened with all the women walking to sex from the bathroom, right? Basically coming back sexy, and then the final episode is ending with a montage of like sex happening, or even more romantically, figuring out an iPhone in bed together.
Yeah. And then the Miranda thing, they're not doing sex either, right?
That's true. Miranda and Joy, the big redwood, are bar talking. And then Anthony's getting it up the butt. And we're so happy. And what a face he gives to the camera. This John's doing it. Make a noise so the screen will switch to you. Hold the face. Anthony did so good. There also is a tub of boy butter there,
yes.
which is advertised during Drag Race.
Now, do you do boy butter, Kevin? Because I do. I can't believe it's not boy butter, and you can hardly tell the difference.
Yeah, you and Fabio both promote that product, right? Yeah. No, I was told that was advertised on Drag Race. Then, John, when we see Che and that person,
Toby, Toby is the most relatable person.
He's gone.
I remember
folks.
Toby's
He tried
name.
For a second.
Toby,
yeah, that is crazy.
It's a human. It's a person that chose the name Toby. Folks.
Yep. And that's bald. And
aren't you so happy that Che and Toby ended up together? God,
I don't know if has anyone ever cared less about any two people making out on this show than those two ever. No. Right?
I gotta check the chat on this one. No.
Yeah, this is just like, all right, man, whatever. We could have cut that. We could have given a few seconds.
I'm so happy for them and them. They cannot be back, right? Third season, this is over.
John, you
Che
saw the announcement for the renewal had Che alone in the photo. It's they hate us, so that's what we know. Naya is basically, she's showing up. The chef gave her a ride home to Salt.
He lives in Harlem, but he dropped her off in Brooklyn.
His favorite way to Harlem is through Brooklyn, and through
that ass.
That's how you would say it, yeah. And Naya, sorry, every lady in the chat just got a boner at the same time, thinking about John saying that's what he would do. But Naya, basically, he asks her, like, oh, do you have anything to eat? And because he hasn't eaten yet. So he sort of invites himself in, and they gonna bone. And then John, Aiden and Carrie, I think the most naked Carrie's ever been, and we almost get Aiden Dong in this too.
Aiden Dong.
Yeah.
They are having passionate Showtime-esque sex here.
Yeah.
I'm almost surprised
Red Shoe Diaries.
A Carrie's hand going over the blanket and grabbing it or whatever. Like, definitely creaming a couple times.
God.
And they bang, and it's like at this point I'm like, okay, so she's gonna wait 5 years.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what I'm getting. I guess this could also be breakup sex, right?
It could be like, let's say goodbye to each other hard.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
What?
She reaches over and there's a framed picture of Chris Noth on the bedstand and she turns it face down.
Yes. I get what you're saying. But they're both like really naked. We get Carrie's side boob. We almost have to say
Hi, penis.
to Aiden, and then Seema's having sex, and Seema's facial expressions, I don't know if we're supposed to register it this way, but she seems a little sus. She seems like not as committed to the sex, like seems like she has complicated emotions in the sex by face, and then she gets on top, and then it's just like side boob and
her side boob's all over the place. She's got it like that. The side boob. I actually think I see a little nip in here too.
Okay. Now, do you think this is actual Seema or is this a double?
I don't know. They did seem sort of like bigger boobs than Seema's.
We're not trying to be scientists about this.
I didn't like slow it down a lot.
I've only watched it 4 or 5 times. And then
so it's also like, I guess she's giving up. She's giving in on Cairo. Is like they're also like having sex, and I guess old-fashioned John Daly, when I have sex with someone, it's normally because I'm on like working terms with them and we're sort of on the same page about something, not like we just had a big fight about where we're going to live and we're not going to see each other anymore.
Have you ever had sex after you decided to break up?
I don't think so. I mean, there was like you have the thing where it's like we broke up. Oh, okay, maybe we don't break up and we do it again. And then it's like, no, we actually, no.
How quick after finishing do you say, no, we're broken up for real?
I've got to go. It's like, not for me. Try again in a week.
Nah, never talk to me again. Then we have LTW and GW holding each other just sort of affectionately. There's real love there. And Aiden and Carrie, as they're saying goodbye.
There's real love there. Next.
I mean,
there's really nothing else they're not giving us much with this montage. Nothing. It's not progressing any storyline, really.
I would say it is a little bit for me, but but as much as I'm saying. And then Aiden and Carrie Aiden's leaving the next morning, and Carrie says, no matter what happens, this, like, between her, John's doing the hands, making noise.
This, the apartment, and this, Kevin and John, was not a mistake.
She does say Kevin and John weren't a mistake. And I thought this was deep. I thought this was her being like, whatever happens from here, I'm glad this happened in this finite amount of life. I'm glad that this, we had this season, and I thought that was great. Then Seema calls and says, I got a place.
Well, we get the Aiden goes to the cabin. We get another non-snap, right? So that's like their thing, right? They have one more eye thing, and he's just like, I'm gonna snap. Oh, I didn't. It's gonna be that quick. Yeah. I would say the apartment is a mistake, though, and I think that should be acknowledged a little bit. Like, you did buy a 4-bedroom apartment that you, as a single woman, are not going to need that many bedrooms.
The apartment's a bit of a whiff.
Like the time with Aiden, beautiful. Wouldn't give that back for anything. This is more house than I need, though.
You should probably move back into your apartment, honestly.
I can move Lizette out. Lizette moves into this place. She just keeps moving up because Carrie's dumb ideas.
Yeah, good on Lizette. Dude, does next season begin with Miranda being Carrie's roommate? Because Miranda's houseless, basically.
Oh my gosh.
Still, I mean, Miranda's making money. Whatever. Like,
is she? She's volunteering for Human Rights Watch.
She's interning now. Most interns get paid a wage now, but she also she was a corporate lawyer for so many years. But then John Seema calls, and there's is like, oh yeah, I got a place on a beach. And, Carrie's like, I don't know if I'm ready for the Hamptons. She's like, oh, it's not the Hamptons. They're in Greece. They just go to Greece. Sure, fucking great. And then
good for you.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking
good, great, grand, wonderful.
And then they're saying we ran at love, and where did that get us? And it's like, well, I'm waiting 5 months. You're waiting 5 years. What if they never come back? And there'll
always be more men. No, more Cosmos.
John, and just like that, I ordered 2 more Cosmopolitans. And I was watching this, and my wife was with me at the time, and she said, we both laughed out loud, and Jamie said, I was just about to say that I thought this episode was really good, and then it's like they ended a perfect routine with a belly flop and a fart. Is how she phrased it. Yeah.
They talk about like, where to get us. I have to wait 5 months for my guy, and you got to wait 5 years for yours.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, dude, if this was the end of the show,
yeah,
there'd be rioting in the streets, right? Like,
it couldn't be
sucks for these people.
Well, and our friend Leslie, who gets the screeners of the shows early, said she did not get the screener for this, and I thought that meant they must have 2 alternate endings based on whether they get renewed or whether they don't. And this is 100% only an ending if you got renewed, right? So I feel like you can't end the series like this. You know what I mean?
I guess. I mean,
do you disagree?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if there's ever a DVD set of this, Kevin, I guess we'll see if there's a deleted scene. I feel like they would have, made a production of it at this point to be like, oh, there's an alternate scene somewhere or whatever. Like, what would have happened? Like, why would they like sit on it? I guess it's more like what could have happened. But
I think she just would have ended up with Aiden in New York if this was the series finale.
All right.
Would be my guess. Any thoughts before we go into the wrap-up?
So do you think this is really Greece, by the way? Do we get to see Carrie in Greece and we didn't get to see her in Virginia? Because, wow. Thanks, guys.
I think that's what they're telling us. No, I don't believe they were physically in Greece.
She knows how to speak Greek, though. Better than Steve knows how to speak Spanish.
I remember my friend Panagiotis Koutsoudourgis, when I was a kid, told me, sorry if this is bad or if I'm remembering it wrong, maybe it's nonsense, but I remember he told me, agamisu mordu mutana, that's Greek for fuck you, bitch. Sorry for swearing, but we were friends from grade school through high school, so that's what he's going to tell me. He was from Greece, so.
Yeah. I can't... If they knew there was another season, like Carrie's like sort of on the hook here, right? Like, next season just going to begin with her being like, yeah, Aiden and I called it off. We decided we were being fucking stupid as hell with this 5-year plan or whatever.
She did say, 5 years. I feel like I can get off with less for good behavior. Wink. And I'm told in the MP King podcast, and your writing is good when you got a footnote.
You have to give the supplement, yeah.
But what do you think she means by that?
I think it means that Aiden will be back, or that's what I thought. Aiden will be back before the 5 years is up.
She was sort of, that's what MP King said, that she's saying it's not going to be 5 years. But also, to me, that's like, well, Carrie, that's what you think.
Yeah, why... Is it going to be 1 year? Because, like, if you can't, folks, if we don't get to see her be in a relationship or date people, what is going on in this show? Like, what has this show become? If she's just like, no, I'm promised to someone, it's like she's a fucking nun at that point. Yeah. My man, I'm married to Jesus Christ and I can't do anything.
Yeah. So, he
was also a carpenter, Kevin, in case you forgot.
Oh, he was a Corbett. People say Jesus is kind of a
John Corbett? Yeah.
JC? Coinky Dink?
Also, speaking of Coinky Dinks.
Yeah.
I finished my Evan Williams bottle, folks.
Hey, good for you. It's blurring it out. Like, I did not finish my Hornitos, but but I'm working on it. I do have a plate of limes I've been squeezing into my
my sick fuck. That's what you love to eat for dinner.
It is. That's what I haven't been hungry lately. I don't know what's happening. I won't see it. But John, let me check in on the chat. We haven't checked in on the chat in a little bit. Is MPK forced to love Che? Leslie DJ says stop trying to make Che happen. That is I would say evergreen, right? As an idea.
Make Toby happen. I can't why wasn't Toby invited to this dinner, huh?
Toby is about to discover a can of annoying worms, Janine said. Kristen Hughes says her real name was Minnie. I don't know if that's for maybe that's Toby. Kristen had a great aunt who chose the name Toby, went from Minnie to Toby. To me, if your name is Minnie,
already a fine name.
I thought so. I think so. I feel like Toby's getting more regular with it, which is
that
maybe
glow down.
I think so. Yeah, you really see the glow down.
Sorry to put your Nana on the spot there.
Leslie says we almost Shaw his Corbett. That's pretty good.
Almost saw that West Elm.
West Elm. I think Bill Clinton had a West Elm at least to the left. We know, right? At Bent. Kristen Lee says takes her to the kitchen for a finger bottom. There was a kitchen scene of the original crime. That's where when Miranda was talking to Che. That was in where the and I am physically on the video. This is, I guess I'm bumping it into my flat hand. I'm like, yeah, that's because it's not into it, I think. Yeah. So we got that. Anything? Let's see. Anything else? Yeah, a lot of good chats here. Who's looking after shoes? Isabel Gretchen asks a great question. Who's looking after shoes? Shoes also was in the original, like in the Samantha scene. The fact that Shoes like ran out the door and was going away on her own, almost doing a reenactment of Aiden's dog originally. Guys, don't distract us with animals in peril when we're trying to get Samantha on screen, I would say.
I want animals in apparel. You know what I'm saying? I want a cat wearing a vest and a hat.
Yes.
I want a dog wearing a pair of shoes. 4 shoes. 2 pairs of shoes.
A dog wearing the cat shoes as a cape. The cat is riding. Why not have them sitting in Greece while they go up to the sunset? If the show was ending, yeah, it's not ending. Yeah, and then Aurora said, thanks for inviting us all to this. I think that's great. What a bunch of good chats in here, folks. Thanks for chatting. Sorry, it's it's hard to keep up on it with everything else we got going on at the time, but y'all brought it in the chat. And if you want to get in on the live streams and see the video of the unedited video of these things, John, tell them where they can find us.
They can find us at patreon.com/Kevin and John.
Yeah.
And that's where they can find us. And other places. Instagram at kevinandjohnpod.com.
That's not true. No, Instagram is .com. That is boomer. At Sex in the Cidiots. And rate and review us if you haven't yet. Please, that does help us out. I do want to point out that I'm getting info from Jamie also that MP King said that in his podcast that the olives they ate gave all the actors the shits.
Perfect.
Except for Charlotte, who fake ate them. So
beautiful.
The
woman who got the shits in Mexico
bad. Like the Mexico trip, right? Yeah.
She learned. She was like, I'm not eating these olives.
Yeah. But man, I think that's all the business. So now, John, just how do we wrap this up? How do we wrap up this?
Thanks for coming, everyone. You've made the show bearable, I would say.
I would say roughly half of the episodes this year were like good for me.
Do you think HBO knows they're like, people are hate watching this and we are going to ride that fucking train?
They should.
Yeah. Oh, you guys are hate watching it? Oh, that sucks, man. Please don't keep hate watching this.
Yeah.
Please don't tweet about it all the time. Please don't talk about it.
Yes. Yeah, man, I was surprised they announced the renewal that quickly. Also, it's like obviously Writers Guild and SAG are both striking at the same time right now. So the 3rd season, it will come if the studios and executives ever offer anything approaching reasonable, which is no sure thing, I guess.
Yeah. I guess if they want to make television again, they'll fucking get on it.
But it might be a while.
Might be a while. Fuck them.
Fuck them. Fucking yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking,
I'm sure that they're.
The fuck are you doing?
What are you doing? How many? And I want to circle back onto what Sarah Ramirez said about how many. She was like, they were like, how many? You got to blame the cishet white guys that are writing these lines.
mm-hmm.
Is that like? I guess I thought the majority of the new writers' room or whatever. I wouldn't have thought that there were that many cishet white guys.
I think there's 2 cishet white guys. They are greatly outnumbered by women on the show. So, I mean, I guess if we're saying MP King developed the character and stuff, okay, but that also does feel to me like you're taking agency away from the women who do write on the show, of which there are many.
And he's not a cishet white guy, I guess. He's just a cis white guy. MP King, is he not gay?
Yeah. Oh no, he is gay. Yeah, actually, the other cis white guy on the show is also gay in the writers' room. So actually, there is no cis. As far as I know, there's no heterosexual male representation on the writing side of things. So yeah, and maybe Sarah just said cis white guy, I guess, because you couldn't throw the other one at him like a pejorative. I don't know, man. The character, I think I would love it if season 3 came back and we just like cut the fat that we know is fat at this point. But it
and
feels
now we're into body shaming, Kevin.
Shut up. You know that's not what I'm saying. The character fat.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like you really tried to say something, MP King. You really tried, and you get high marks for that. But people don't. This show doesn't need to be that. I don't think. You just do what, I don't know. It's tough because like all these like old retro shows or whatever, the shows that come back and it's like sometimes they either play all the hits or whatever, and it's like, wow, you're really just retreading everything, or they explore new territory and it's like, well, you guys are really out of your element and you're doing a poor job of it or whatever. It really seems like there's really incredibly hard to thread the needle. So hopefully they'll they had a beautiful scene. They had a beautiful thing here at one point. So Aiden was good this season overall.
Dude, I thought he was. I thought Corbett came back. I thought he killed it. I thought that storyline, I thought it was super weird to just be like, just chill for 5 years. It's really fucked up and like selfish and bad, but I thought he played it well, and I thought the character, he felt like Aiden, like I don't know, it felt right, and I have to assume they end up together. But, John, we all want, and the Janine just mentioned it in the chat, want Burger in the next season. Give us a Burger window, and then back to Aiden. That's what we're talking about.
Burger can be, imagine what heights of celebrity he's reached at this point. Because everyone's wildly successful, even at completely made up things like the American Law Institute.
Yeah.
He'll have been a writer. Perhaps make him some sort of writer whose book has been turned into a TV show or something, right? Have him be like an MP King stand-in.
Oh, that would be interesting. Yeah. And as Leslie said in the chat, I love the idea of the cast being this diverse. The actors are fantastic, but they just can't seem to fit them properly. I think that seems right? Like, what of the new characters, John, who should stay, who should go? To me, like Che, if we're trying to make the best show we can, Che's done. We've told the Che story.
Mm-hmm.
Che's obviously going to come back because they just are trying to spite us.
What do you think's next for Che then? Is it because it was Carrie? They were Carrie's bud first on the podcast, and then
Isabel Gretchen. We want our burger emoji. The Burger Nation, John, is growing, so that's great. But sorry, go ahead.
I like mine with less than tomato, folks. I don't really, but thank you. So so I mean, is Che gonna glom on to Charlotte next, perhaps as some sort of mentor for Rock, or are we gonna see Che glom on to, well, she can't glom on, or they can't glom on to Samantha, so I guess it's got to be Charlotte's next, and actually it makes total sense.
Yeah, that probably Che should be gone. I think I obviously I'm a Naya mark, but I also feel like Naya's in a different show. A lot of the time I do enjoy Naya. I just don't think I just don't know what she's doing here. Yeah,
There's really nowhere else for her to go. Like she's
Yeah.
already won the American Law Institute
Right.
thing, and her husband like has a new kid already. So it's like that ship has sailed. Like
yeah. I mean, LTW's kind of in the mix. Seema started the season strong, and then like second half of the season, like I don't give a fuck, I guess.
Right.
Kind of. But
yeah, I mean, it's a lot of like bad bitch mentality, but it all seems like boilerplate, right?
yeah, like unearned girl bossing, kind of.
Yeah.
And it's just like, all right, I'm not that interested in it. But yeah, I love Naya in whatever show she's in, and and LTW I do think fits like on the periphery, but I think the show just has to treat it like the mains are the main, like, and then the rest are spice. Stop trying, and beyond those main characters, them like trying to work fucking Bobby Lee / Jackie and like Smoke back into this is like, please don't. Please, like we have enough. It's fine.
It's just like there's an old Simpsons gag from like years ago, of course, but it was like, which of these popular which two popular characters were killed off during the Simpsons or whatever, and it's like Dr. James Monroe and Bleeding Gums Murphy. If you said Dr. James Monroe and Bleeding Gums Murphy, you're wrong. They weren't popular or whatever.
Right.
It's like, yeah, these characters, you're not cutting anyone. Like, people aren't clamoring for this. Like, right. I like TLDR kind of.
Yeah, I think so too. I think she works.
A lot of times it's like annoying because it's like, yeah, I will persevere, even though I'm just a rich woman living on Fifth Avenue or whatever. Like,
yeah, I don't think I'd like her that much in real life, but I think as a character, she fits better than some of the others. So whatever. But God damn it, guys! Thank you so much for hanging out. For the Patreon pals who joined us on the live stream, that was great. Great to see your thoughts in the chat. And
what's gonna happen to Herb's mom?
Oh Jesus, we thought the like dad and the mom, the different dad
Lando
and the mom.
Calrissian was here for an episode.
Billy
folks.
D was in the mix. Yeah, they never did anything with that. I guess that's season 3. John, I hate to say it, if they're alive. I'm
not a lot of time on
I said it quiet. Yeah.
Anything could happen at any time.
Right. But God damn it, man. I'm glad there's going to be a season 3 in theory, because I like doing this with you. I'm saying that to John right now. And with you, I'm saying that to everyone else. Wow. There's 2 different yous.
I could really tell that you didn't mean one of those 2. I won't say which one.
Sure.
I enjoyed it too. Although I will say, if you like this, folks, we're doing it on Patreon all the time about a different show, but it's basically the same thing. It's basically the same.
Yeah. We're about to finish season 1 of Desperate Housewives and then figure out where we go from there. But we're also doing...
And you can help decide that.
You can.
Depending on if you give us money.
Yes. Patreon.com/Kevin John. Follow us on Instagram @SexandTheCidiots. Rate and review us. That's free. That's easy. That helps us so much. And we are genuinely touched when people do that. And John, we're saying goodbye for a while now, to at least to this
I'm not
show.
saying goodbye. I'm saying in 5 years, I'm going to watch this show again. Maybe. I guess. We'll see what happens.
God damn it. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We love you. Thanks for hanging with us. John, thanks for hanging with me.
Oh, you're welcome. I almost said thank you. That would have been embarrassing.
Do you have a dad joke for me on the way out? I know that's putting you on the spot. Did you have anything lined up? Probably not. Because you're just being authentic and normal.
I'm just being normal for this one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kevin. I let you down.
No. Just tell people goodbye one more time.